Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, no matter where you are tuning in from right around the world. We welcome you to the Global Sim Racing channel, to our coverage of the Racing Local series here, putting on a show for a great cause, for charity SOS Business, helping out local businesses right across New Zealand. And if you ever wanted to know who's who in New Zealand motorsport, then look no further than the entry list we have today, because it is an absolute cracker. We're going to be taking you through the evening all night long from Daytona Road Course and from Knoxville Raceway as well. My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me in the commentary booth this evening, I've got Greg Rust and Steve Daniel. Behind the scenes is Sean Ambrose, directing the broadcast using cameras provided to us by the legendary Dougie Beard. And we're going to dive down and take a little bit of a closer look at the Daytona International Speedway with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame thanks to it hosting motorcycles and sports cars for decades. In fact, the flagship road race, the 24 Hours of Daytona, has become a major draw for drivers of all disciplines, many eager to have a go at endurance racing. The stats make this place sound relatively simple, with 12 turns spread among 3.5 miles. Indeed, a majority of the lap is spent on the oval portion, where you fly along the notoriously steep banking. But it's easy to underestimate the challenge presented to the drivers. The infield portion begins with the scary kinked entry of Turn 1. Not only is it the fastest part of the track, but the transition from the banking to the flat tends to upset the car as you slow it down. There's also the bus stop chicane on the backstretch. Added in the 80s, this is a tricky piece of circuit that punishes a poor exit severely, with it leading back into the latter half of the oval. As you'd expect, the long periods on throttle mean that drafting tends to play a factor in the racing. It also means passing isn't usually too great of an issue if you have the pace to catch someone. The more difficult thing is managing to gap your opponent so that they don't ride in your slipstream once you get by. With half a century of endurance racing collected among these walls, it's not unfair to say that road racers have just as much claim to call Daytona home. Fans who come to watch certainly won't be disappointed by the high speeds and fantastic thrills it invariably provides each year.
That was a look at the road course here at Daytona International Speedway. Greg Rust, let's bring you into the conversation this evening. What are we racing for today? Because it is a great cause.
Ryan, it's great to be a part of this. Welcome to everyone who's listening and watching right around the world. Basically, as a result of a month-long Level 4 lockdown here in New Zealand, while we were trying to sort of eliminate the COVID-19 virus, that's had a massive impact, as you well know, on non-essential businesses that have had to close their doors to loyal customers. This is about helping those guys get back on track, those men and women who do some great things for us locally. There's a wonderful website, SOS Cafe or sosbusiness.nz, that's been doing an amazing job, Ryan, rallying support for many of New Zealand's small and medium-sized businesses through this period that need some support. And this tonight, this is the first of 4 weeks of competition that is about showcasing these businesses, helping to financially support them. And we've got a full house in the last 48 hours, a full grid for our first races this week. So well done to Brendon and Sarah Hartley, Chris and Billy Vanderdrift, Barry and Louise Tomlinson, and Christian Hermansen, who've come together and used this 4-week period to create this great concept. So we want you to enjoy the racing action. The drivers that are with us, there are some absolute A-listers, there's some emerging stars, and there are those with sim racing experience as well, all raising valuable funds for great Kiwi businesses. And a part of all the action too, joining us in the commentary, we say a very big good evening to Steve Daniel, who those of you that watch the D1NZ coverage will be familiar with his voice. And he had a very special early morning start on Tuesday this week when Macca's reopened, so he is pumped. Steve, g'day.
G'day, Rusty. Hey, guys, how's it going? Isn't it fantastic to be bringing such an amazing spectacle to Facebook, to YouTube, to every other channel, and hopefully we might see it in a few larger scale places as well coming on. But of course, tonight, it's the big one, the starting. We are rounding it up, and we're going to get in there with a whole lot of iRacing.
Yeah, so what are we doing today then? Well, we're going racing at 2 different tracks in 2 different cars. First up, as you can see, as Chris Vanderdrift shows us how not to take the bus stop, is we're racing the Radical SR8 around the road course here at Daytona. So it's going to be a 30-minute feature race. But to get there, we've got 2 heat races and a qualifying session. Now, the qualifying in iRacing is slightly unique. The drivers can't see each other on the racetrack. They go out there, and in a period of 7 minutes, they've got to set 2 laps, or they can set 2 laps, and obviously the best time puts them on the grid. And then we'll go into 2 heat races, 30 drivers per heat, and that will set the grid for the feature. The feature, though, top 15, going to be inverted. So your pole sitter, your fastest driver, going to have to work their way through the field. You can also see there, we've got 3 spare cars, or a fast repair as iRacing calls it, which means if you screw up and put yourself on the fence, you can either limp back to pit lane and get that spare car, or you can tow back to pit lane, but that's going to take a few minutes. And when we go sprint car racing later on, same heat format applies, although with slightly more heats and a B and a C main as well. Truly a fantastic format, lots of racing coming up. Some of the names we've got here, though, Rusty, are phenomenal. The quality of drivers we got in here, I don't even want to count the amount of supercar starts amongst some of our entered drivers. Plus people on the rise.
Better Ryan, does it, in many ways? Brendon Hartley, we saw Chris Vanderdrift there before. Shane van Gisbergen in the field tonight. Liam Lawson, an emerging star. Mitch Evans, who we know from the Jaguar Formula E team. Andre Heimgartner. Hayden Paddon, who's been successful at World Rally Championship level. The 4-time Bathurst winner, Greg Murphy's in the field. Ferrari Academy driver, Marcus Armstrong, another guy with a huge amount of talent, is in the field. Jaxon Evans, we know the job he's been doing as a Porsche junior driver on the international scene. The list goes on. It's a star-studded lineup for this. Really looking forward to it.
Steve, coming into this, sim racing for many is something that has been there, but not really at the forefront of their mind. We're seeing so many drivers turn up to iRacing we've never seen before. For you, obviously, coming in, sim racing, maybe not something you've done before, maybe it is, but, you know, what's this done the last couple of months? I know it's been a bad time for many people. We can't lose sight of that, but at the same time, it's really opened the door for sim racing in a way while it shines a bit of a light in the tunnel maybe as to, hey, there's this thing going on, sim racing, and it goes right down from the rookies just having fun to there's World Championship Series. There's over $500,000 in prize pools for iRacing's World Championships this year.
Well, there's a lot of drivers out there that, as you've said, have come through from big factory teams. And one thing that is amazing to see is the popularity of what we're seeing, because motorsport in general, whether it be speedway, whether it be circuit racing or even drifting, the whole lot has got that crossover ability into the iRacing categories. And that's when you see so many of these drivers. Again, Brendon Hartley used to sim racing. Shane van Gisbergen, considered one of the best in the world at it. We've got Scotty Mac. Those guys there, they sim race to make themselves better as actual drivers. And I'd love to see at some stage somebody, and I believe in a couple of different series that we're seeing, that there are going to be that opportunity for these sim racers to actually get in behind the wheel of an actual car, just to see if they are as good at real car driving as they are in sim, because some of them are amazing.
Oh, most certainly. I think it's been proved on a number of occasions, I think already, that sim racers have got a lot of talent. And maybe just not necessarily the coin or the connections to make it in real life. And sim racing's given plenty of opportunities. Rusty, obviously, you've been in and around Australian motorsport for quite some time now, and you've seen people coming up through different ranks. Do you see sim racing potentially one day becoming a potential pathway for people to get in?
Most definitely. And you've got to remember, too, that while lots of other sporting codes haven't been able to get out on the pitch at the moment, this has provided a form of entertainment for the fans. And it's really worked through the Supercars eSeries internationally with IndyCar. And we've brought together a collection in this Racing Local Championship for the next 4 weeks, a real mishmash of driving talent from New Zealand. Now, some of them that are taking part tonight are those that fly the Kiwi flag on the international stage, and they're actually taking part in the racing from their home away from home abroad. So, and then separately to that, we've got guys like Matthew Payne, who's been really strong. I mean, he's the KZ2 New Zealand kart sport champion from 2019. I mean, he's been really strong in the lead up to this tonight. So there are there are emerging stars as well that have been kind of raised on that diet of racing like this, that we're starting to, we're starting to see what those guys are now capable of. And let's not forget, Scott McLaughlin has been so strong in that Supercars eSeries. It underscores the fact that he's been doing it for some 9 years now. We're so used to seeing him on the telly and what he's achieved as a Supercars champion and winning at Bathurst and things like that. But he's nearly got a decade of experience in this domain. No wonder he's so good.
Yeah, I mean, I work on a number of different channels here at iRacing, and the director or part owner of one of those channels, he has memories of running around on the racetrack with Scott McLaughlin almost a decade ago on iRacing in Supercars. And when McLaughlin came racing a few weeks ago, we made a comment on Facebook, and McLaughlin remembers it. Yeah, that was great fun. We love those days. So, he's got so much experience. But another factor I haven't talked about tonight, Rusty, and people not familiar to iRacing won't realize this. There is a system called incident points, and this helps to monitor the safety of the drivers. And when you choose to set up a hosted session, which is what we're in right now, you can determine how many points you want to give drivers. And so the incident limit today is 30. Now, for context, if you drive off the racetrack, you get 1 incident point. If you lose control of the car and spin, that's 2. And if you make heavy contact with someone else, that gives you 4. So dirty driving is not going to be rewarded. And Hartley and everyone else involved has already stated that we're not here to race dirty. We're going to have a nice, fun, clean race, put on a great show for the fans for a great cause. So,
Ryan, I reckon the key thing to look at is the schedule for event 1, for week 1, I should say. At the bottom, in bright red writing, 0 warnings for intended misconduct. You will be booted from this. So, the organisers, Brendon Hartley and Chris Vanderdrift, they are super keen that we put on a great show with this championship and we see some quality racing.
Most certainly, and well, that 30 incident might not be an issue in the heats, but coming to the features, maybe something to keep an eye on. Because I've seen in other series that same incident number come into play for drivers like Shane Van Gisbergen. He's been disqualified from an event I've commentated, another event on the Global Sim Racing channel, the 2K Cup iRacing League, for hitting 30 incident points in a battle, it should be mentioned, with Liam Lawson and Matthew Payne, 2 of the fastest drivers in practice in this session. So qualifying, as you see, currently underway. Let's get some cars on the track. Just over 5 minutes left for these drivers to get 2 laps in. We're watching Matthew Payne.
The name Matthew Payne out there too.
Matthew Payne. Guys. Sorry, Rusty, go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say, it's great to see on the leaderboard there the name Giltrap. We should say a very big thank you as well to the Giltrap group, who've got right behind this whole initiative, this whole series as well, and they're backing it right through the 4 weeks, which is wonderful. Take it away.
So Matthew Payne out there on screen, racing behind the Giltrap logo. Sir Colin Giltrap now, of course, Colin's son Richard and his son again was out on the track at the moment. There's a couple of new drivers that have been really interested to see, and of course those are the iRacing drivers, and one of them that I'm looking forward to seeing is a man called Rob Northway. He's out of Christchurch, New Zealand, extremely quick on the server during practice, and if he can emulate those practice times, maybe he's going to be somebody to watch.
Yeah, well, Robert Northway is a name I recognise from my exploits in sim racing. He does a lot of it.
25 years he's been racing. 25 years he's been racing for, and he's been iRacing for almost 10 years. And the thing that's interesting with these guys is you see the big boy players and some of these big the drivers that can afford to get themselves a sim. He's still using a Logitech G29 wheel and pedal set and a stock standard PBTech PC.
Yeah, so you don't need a big setup to go iRacing. A half-decent computer will do the job. Just turn your graphics down a little bit. You don't need to be running around at max graphics. The sim looks great no matter what. There is Northway on your screen, by the way, too, making his way through the infield section of the track. You've got guys like Timmy Hill, who just won a round of the eNASCAR Invitational Series. Well, he's running around with the most basic setups on a desk. He got offered to upgrade his rig, and he said, no, I'm quite happy like this. So, people have the preconception it's expensive. It's not. Anyone with any budget can get involved.
Stephen Ryan, and by contrast to that, Greg Murphy tonight is in Napier in Hawke's Bay, and he's using the Motion Force 1 performance sim designed and built in this part of the world, and man, is that an expensive, but an impressive setup. It is world class for this style of thing and really enhances the whole iRacing experience, making it that much more real.
We saw Marcus Ambrose the other night, and he was in a full operational sim, rocking and rolling with his full VR setup. I got the opportunity to have a look at one of those the other day, and a friend of mine who owns a company here in New Zealand said, Steve, I'm going to go and get that one there. It's down in Wellington. They were using it for the Defence Force to train. The Defence Force, because of COVID, just cancelled the contract, and he said, well, I'm going to bring it up to Tauranga. So this one here, if you roll 5 times, it's going to go over 5 times as well, and it's full rotational. Amazing.
Steve, so we've got just under 3 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Liam Lawson on top at the moment, 1:43 by 0.3 of a second. We've been talking about the job Matthew Payne is doing. Super impressive. The Carter, second quickest from Andre Heimgartner, who's been a star for Kelly Racing, both in real terms in their brand new Mustangs for 2020 and as well in the iRacing side of things. So for the eSeries and Supercars, I should say. So that's how things are. 2.5 minutes remaining in that one at the moment. And just to your point on Marcus Ambrose as well, that sim setup that he built himself in Tasmania, where he now lives, he brought together a lot of componentry. He's a real tinkerer. He put that together himself. Impressive.
Tell you what, I could not even get my wheel and my pedals onto my desk without some help. So I could not even imagine doing that. Starting to see quite a lot of times now flow through onto the board. You can see McLaughlin there in 6th place, almost a second off the pace. Quite a big track for these cars because they top out at about 250 kilometers an hour, which means in the race, coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 out of the bus stop to the start-finish line, you've got to think about that for the final lap, because if you haven't broken away from the field, big opportunity for someone behind to slingshot by you and seal the win away.
And Ryan, worth clarifying too, isn't it? These are solo laps, aren't they, during this? We're going to see slipstreaming absolutely come into play in the races.
Steve?
So a couple of the people I've been looking at, James Watson is one that he's sitting in 4th position at the moment. He started in the 2K Cup with Mark Millard, running he also runs a Rolt single-seater as well in the Sanyong Ute class in Motorsport New Zealand. Also his father, Chris, is also the co-founder of the Hampton Downs circuit originally.
There you go. Bit of background info from our man Steve Daniels in the know over there in New Zealand. What about James Watson then? Because they're in 7th place, doing a pretty good job. He's been running around a lot of sim racing leagues as of late. Matthew Leversedge comes across the stripe, and he doesn't set it that time. Simon Evans, what can he do? Running around a Jaguar I-Pace Trophy this year. 27th at the moment. Doesn't improve on that lap, it looks like. He'll stay back there.
Huge amount of history as far as New Zealand motorsport is concerned with the Evans family, isn't there? I mean, I know Greg Murphy and Stephen McIver and the guys from Sky Speed were reliving some of the history from Simon and Mitch's dad, and you know the kind of near-death experiences that he had along the way as well. But both of his boys on the international stage doing a tremendous job. So 11 seconds, 10 seconds remaining now. Lawson looks like, unless we get a late run here, may top this qualifying session by 0.2 from Payne. Heimgartner in the top 5, along with Marcus Armstrong. Nice job into 6th place. McLaughlin inside the top 10. In fact, he's just dropped out of it now behind Blomqvist and Brendon Hartley.
So what this means is Lawson's on pole for Heat 1, and Heat 2 should see Matthew Payne on pole position, and it will. So the field's going to get split in 2. We're going to have 2 very short heat races here. 4 laps each. That is not long at all to set the grid for the feature. Everyone should be advancing through to the feature event, just to give us a big field. And it's going to be Lawson and Leitch on that front row. You can see there on the left-hand side of your screen how they will line up. You've got 2 supercars drivers, 3 supercars drivers in the top 10. You've got guys like James Watson, Brendon Hartley, very experienced in real life, up and amongst it as well as your Super Utes champion from last year, Tom Alexander. Very good quality field this for the Heat 1.
Hi to everyone watching on the Racing Local Facebook page, and I know lots of people are doing it through Speed Cafe in Australia and more right around the world. Great concept this, Racing Local, supporting local businesses in New Zealand with some of the best Kiwi races from home and abroad.
And we should mention here too that this is going to be a rolling start. So of course you can see that pace car, the Porsche pace car out in front of the field, will roll off the grid nice and slow here. Take a full lap around this circuit, gives drivers an opportunity to warm up their tyres, get their eye in, see who they're starting in and amongst, get ready for the run down into turn number one. Going to be a very tricky run down into there, trying to get it stopped while also getting it to the left. Big opportunities for dive bombs. Great cars, these Radicals, aren't they? We see them running around in both Australia and New Zealand in very good big series, and they look just as good here on iRacing.
Two of them have had real experience in the real deal, I should point out too. Greg Murphy raced at Sydney Motorsport Park in a Radical some years back, and Chris Vanderdrift has had some experience behind the wheel of one back in his single-seater days. And each of the competitors in entering to be a part of the Racing Local Series, this championship for the next 4 weeks, it's a great initiative, as we said at the very beginning. They get on board and support some businesses that need some help right now. So, for example, Liam Lawson, who's on the front row there, well, he is supporting Autobahn Cafe, Bombay and Papakura. So, well done to the young man who's a Formula 3 racer, part of the Red Bull Junior team, and supporting local.
Steve, as we look to get this one underway then, you start thinking about that run down at turn one. Going to be very tricky. It's not a big run down there. You got some time to wait once that pace car gets out of the way, because of the way pit lane works here in a Daytona, it's just off to the left, quite a way before the start-finish stripe. How do you get yourself in the right mindset to launch down for a 4-lap sprint?
Well, it's all about composure inside the cockpit, wherever that cockpit might be throughout the world. These drivers all sitting in place, ready to go. You can see them lined up, stacked up, ready to be released. I think the biggest lap for us might actually be as they come into the first turn after their second lap. They're not going to have a huge amount of speed, but one thing you've talked about is the slipstreaming of these cars coming down the straights.
Yes, I don't think anyone's going to break away at the front of this field. Certainly not in a 4-lap race. It's just 5.7 kilometers, which is a long way around the track, but then you put it to account that, well, about 2 miles of that is out here on the oval. Flat out, full throttle. Look at those flames shooting out the back of the car. One of the great little things iRacing does is that they add all the details like that. You get the flames shooting out the back, adds to the awesome visual fidelity of this. You can see the track map there. Look how much of that is just full throttle.
Home of the legendary Daytona 24-hour in January each year. Some legends have won this event. Some Kiwis have over many, many decades now have gone to contest it. And today, overcast conditions for this one. The first of our races, Racing Local, getting behind local businesses in New Zealand.
You can see the weather conditions up on the screen there at the top of your screen. That is, of course, in Fahrenheit, because we are an American company here at GSRC, but we cover plenty of international events, including this one right here, of course. But I can tell you in Celsius what it is. It's 21 degrees Celsius, 24 track temp, so nice and cool, plenty of grip for the drivers, not much wind to contend with. It's just after 5 p.m. in sim time. Time is completely dynamic in iRacing, so you can race under the lights, you can transition from a sunny start into a night race, but we don't have much time out on the track in this one. It's going to be pretty much the same conditions when they finish as to when they start. For the drivers in Heat 2, they've got to sit back and maybe watch and learn how some of the overtakes might pan out, what might be a bad idea to try and pull off. Not going to be that hard to pass, I don't think. Not with the slingshots. These things can potentially bring about. Topping out at about 250 by yourself, you can get about an extra 12 kilometers an hour by the time you hit the stripe, all behind another car. As we get ready to take the green here in New Zealand, Racing Local, supporting local businesses. Green flag is out. We're racing from Daytona. Great jump there for Liam Lawson out into the lead. They're around 3 wide behind them, but now they're all going to filter down into turn number 1, trying to keep it clean. 30 drivers vying for position. They all make it through relatively cleanly then, which is very impressive, and Maybe what you'd expect from such a professional field. Andre Heimgartner. Oh no, there's a crash in the background, just out of shot. Looked like it was Brendon Hartley that's gone around and damaged the back of his car.
Nice job by Heimgartner.
So Simon Evans was a car that over-rotated further back, so he's going to have to claw back and get some work done if he's going to make an impact in this race. And there's another big one. Oh, and huge contact. One's up and over.
And that was right in front of Hartley, who was trying to recover from the other end. So that's Hayden Paddon, who's having to do a big flick spin to get it back on the right way. And that's 2 crashes then on the opening phase of the lap. If we go back to the front, the battle is on now. Liam Lawson trying to shake that draft of Brendon Leitch and Andre Heimgartner as they close up to the bus stop.
And look at the way that McLaughlin has made some ground. Van Gisbergen in good shape in position 6 as well. So Lawson, nice performance. But that margin that he had coming to the start-finish line of about half a second, now down to just 0.3.
And look behind Brendon Leitch. Andre Heimgartner with a great run. Gets to the outside. Lawson's got to watch out. He may lose 2 spots here. Drives it down the other line. Boxes Leitch in. Heimgartner goes by them both. Look at the run that Watson and McLaughlin have got. 5 cars. They're 3 wide down into turn 1 for the lead of the race. What a great scrap already. And Lawson's going to fend him off on the inside. Great defence.
All tapped out as they came down into the left-hander. Lawson from Heimgartner, P2 now. McLaughlin and Gisbergen doing a very good job. What a shame for Hartley early on there.
Certainly is on McLaughlin here at the back of this train, watching the 4 cars in front of him. Lawson with about 4 car length advantage as McLaughlin dives to the inside. Brendon Leitch gives him the spot. He knows he's going to have an opportunity to get it back here as they come up onto the oval out of this corner, Steve.
Yeah, he's trying to take that dive bomb again. Sets his car up beautifully to come under. You can see him just trying to bring the nose down into the turn. And will he get a run coming out back onto the oval again?
Might be a bit too far back, especially with the double toe that Scott McLaughlin's getting off Watson and Heimgartner. Lawson may have opened up a big enough gap to at least be free into the bus stop. He is. You can see already though, he's still having to work that draft, snaking across the track, side by side behind with McLaughlin trying to go the long way around, and Watson thought better of it, right in behind him for the bus stop. You can see how much Heimgartner's closed up to Lawson as well. How powerful that slipstream is. He was so far behind him coming onto the oval.
Well, we can see a challenge from the lead. Heimgartner getting right up and behind, tucking himself. When is he going to make the move?
Bomb draft style. Oh boy, here they come. Side by side, once again as we hit lap 3. We're over halfway through this race, fellas. It's a 4-lap sprint and it's almost done with. Lawson fends him off again. Heimgartner couldn't get through. Watson still in third as here comes McLaughlin to the inside. Pinches the right front. Runs a little bit wide. Watson's left in the room, but he gets the exit out of the corner. He prevails and Leitch tucks in behind. Watch out, because here comes Shane Van Gisbergen on the back of these guys as well.
I was just about to say that myself. Shane Van Gisbergen is the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's trying to make his move. He was only a 1.5 seconds, and you can see he's really closed up, looking again for an inside pass.
On board with SVG here.
Well, Shane Van Gisbergen taking the outside. Oh, we'll have to jump in there and try and get that bump draft as we see him come back out of the turn. Just riding up in behind the 4 car.
And now he pulls to the outside. Does he have enough momentum to go by him? He does, because Leitch rolls off the throttle and lets him go. Doesn't want to fight it, but he gets into the back of him, gives him a big shot ending the bus stop. Van Gisbergen managed to pull it up. Did a very good job not to crit into the back of Watson or through all of that. But now we're going to have to cast our eyes back to the lead, because Andre Heimgartner's got by Liam Lawson on the run into the bus stop. But as we come back towards turn 1, Lawson's going to come right back at him, pulls to the outside, and Scott McLaughlin going to push him through. 2 cars versus 1. That is not good news for Andre Heimgartner, as he shoots back to the middle, takes him 3 wide, trying to go the long way round. McLaughlin still sits in third as Watson pinches it all up behind. Somehow, Lawson's still in front. He's done a phenomenal job so far, Rusty.
This is going to be a beauty of a finish. On the run home now, final lap, looking down the inside, Heimgartner versus Lawson, over and under treatment. Beautiful stuff from young Liam Lawson.
And here comes SVG. He's sitting in 4th place at the moment, but what will happen up the front? Liam Lawson leads the way. He's got Heimgartner in behind. Scotty Mack, he's going for the big dive. He might take one, he might take 2.
Then Gisbergen got it all crossed up on the brake, shot to the left-hand side with a snap of oversteer, and he exits the battle very quickly indeed as Heimgartner picks his way back into second. McLaughlin gets back underneath him. They'll go door to door, and they almost touch. McLaughlin has to dive to the apron, and Heimgartner chases him all the way down to the left-hand side, almost up against the grass. Finally gets to his left-hand side and goes back by him. Lawson is loving this in his rear view mirrors. Into the bus stop for the final time in heat number 1. Lawson with a length of about 4 car lengths, but it's closing rapidly. Heimgartner is going to be right there with him through NASCAR 3 and 4 then. The run to the start-finish line on the final lap. It's all about the slipstream. Can Heimgartner and McLaughlin get there? What can
McLaughlin do? Look at McLaughlin.
Here he comes to the outside. Here comes Heimgartner to the inside. They touch.
No,
Heimgartner spins. McLaughlin comes to it all. He picks up the checkers in heat number 1. It'll be Brendon Leitch. He picks up second. Wow.
Well, what a finish to that one there with Scotty McLaughlin coming through in with just meters before the line, over rotation for one of the cars, and Brendon Leitch coming home in 2nd position from James Watson. SVG, I thought he would take 3rd position, but he'd have to settle for 4th. Liam Lawson showing down in 5th place.
We'll have to get a replay up on screen of the contact between Andre Heimgartner and Liam Lawson, who led every lap of this race despite coming under almost insurmountable pressure from so many drivers behind. And you could see the respect they were showing to each other for a moment there until they crashed on the warm-up on that. Take a look at this, Steve. In just a second here we go.
Oh, look at that. And at 250 plus, managed to settle the car down and bring it home in 5th place. Lucky to get points. Certainly won't be happy. First place is where he wanted. And here we see just rubs up and down, gets turned around. He was actually lucky to make contact again because that settled the car down, brought it straight, and he was able to finish in 5th position. But not the ride that Liam Lawson would like to take.
How smooth did he gather that up? He was in a full rotation spin cycle, pinned the throttle, and it ran straight towards the start-finish line for him. So that's heat 1. Heat 2 still to come. Off pole for this one will be Matthew Payne. And then we'll go to the feature race. All those drivers you just saw there, even the ones crash at the end, they'll be in the feature race. The feature race, we should mention, is going to be 16 laps long. If the top 10, it looks like, in fact, not the top 15, will be inverted. So that means McLaughlin's not going to be on pole. He'll be starting from 10th.
One thing that I noticed in that race there was coming into the 4th and final lap as they crossed the line, you could see back markers starting to play a part. When we go 16 laps, we're going to see back markers certainly becoming a huge part of this race, especially when it comes to the feature time, the last race of the night. Or last race, sorry, here.
One thing to point out too, guys, Nick Cassidy in Japan, unable to take part this evening. So for those of you following on social media or watching the live stream, he was set to join us. Unfortunately, he can't tonight. So we hope that'll be a part of week 2 of Racing Local, which is all about getting behind local businesses, small to medium-sized businesses that have been doing it tough during this this COVID-19 crisis. Scott McLaughlin with that great performance. He actually was a potential non-starter for this tonight, but very late in the game, came on board, confirmed that he's a part of it, which is terrific. He is very much a proud Kiwi, based in Brisbane, doing some great things racing for both the IndyCar eSeries at the moment, as well as in supercars, and he is supporting Waitomo Adventures as a part of this here this evening.
We're going to have a quick chat to our Race 1 winner, Scott McLaughlin. Welcome up into the Global Sim Racing channel booth. You've got a read on this there, mate.
Yeah, I do. What's going on?
Well, that was quite the finish, wasn't it? We knew it was going to come down to a slipstreaming battle. Somehow, the seas parted, you come through. Talk us through that final lap.
Yeah, well, that was pretty crazy. I didn't want to be like, I don't think you want to be first into the last lap, especially. So it's all going to be about how you set yourself up. But yeah, I was planning on bump drafting Andre, and then I had a really good run as well. So I went high, and they collided. So I was like, oh, you beauty. So I just took the win. So it was nice.
Scotty, Rusty here. 2 quick questions. What a great concept to be involved in. And secondly, have you ever raced a Radical for real?
No, I haven't. I've seen them go around. It's quite fun. Very different to drive, but good times. Yeah, look, it's a cool thing, and look, the main thing is we're raising some much-needed funds for some small businesses, and glad to be a part of it as a Kiwi, and really proud to be a Kiwi competing internationally and enjoying it.
Proud.
Scotty. So, Scotty, just one more thing. What's it like to be on the positive end, receiving a win like that instead of actually being over-rotated with meters to go?
Yeah, I can't. When did I get over? I can't remember. It's a lot. Look, anytime you win a race is a good thing. It doesn't matter if it's sim racing or just normal. I love it. So yeah, look, hopefully this race is just as good.
Scotty, we better go. We better concentrate on this race. But I would imagine you're spending a lot of your time living in that simulator at the moment, are you?
Yeah, I'm newly married, which is not going the best at the moment. No, it's going all right. It's fine, but Carly understands.
We'll come back to you. Well done, mate. Nice start.
Yeah, bye.
That was Scott McLaughlin, winner in race 1. Happy with that, but who will be the happy man after race 2 here? Come through the bus stop. See, it'll be Payne and Leitch off the front row. You see all the white cars there, don't worry. We've done the old Control R reset on all the paint jobs to get all the right liveries up on your screen. Just to clarify a few of that, there's always technical issues when you're working with technology. It is unavoidable. But Payne and Heimgartner, Payne and Stevens off the front row. Matt Stevens does a lot of sim racing. Marcus Armstrong, Formula 2 driver. Jaxon Evans, Porsche Super Cup driver on row 2. Tom Blomqvist off 5th place. A lot of talent up inside this top 10. Almost, I would say, just as talented as Heat 1. We'll come to the green flag here as we come out of NASCAR 3 and 4. Pace car will dive down. Those flames will shoot a little bit quicker when they pin that throttle. That was from on board the gearbox, looking back from Matt Stevens on the outside of that front row. Pace car going to take a hard left turn. Barney, the flagman, as they love to call him, standing with the green flag at the ready. Let's go racing one more time. Green flag's out, we're underway. Good launch off your front row. Seeing technical difficulties for Marcus Armstrong. Third of this may prove havoc down in the first corner.
Well, a lot cleaner this time here as he fires it down into the next turn. And you see a very clean start for every one of these drivers. But what's going to happen by the end of this race? 4 to go.
Almost having a look at the race lead there was Matthew Payne. Defending from Matt Stevens. Wasn't quite going. Very clean start. No one spun off here. Shouldn't have said that. The commentator's work is just as, unfortunate in sim racing as it is in real. And there it is. Contact. 2 cars go around. Whoops. Dancing on the outside of there. Ben Stewart on the rear end, sliding out at him. He'll tuck in behind Robert Northway, and he'll slingshot right on by him into the bus stop. That's Reid Harker just in behind them. On board with Stewart, looking over the left side of the car. Looks like he may have actually just feathered that throttle a bit to avoid getting the run, but he pulls to his outside anyway. And you can see side by side in front of him as well. Don't really want to go 2 by 2 into here, but they're going to do it. 3 wide in the battle for 4th place. Tom Blomqvist trying to fend them all off. This is for 3rd. This is insane. 5 cars throw him under a blanket and they crash. Sam Dunstall goes for a wild spin with someone else as well. Out to the outside of turn 1. They're crashing just in front of them as they rejoin 2. Big incident. They're still wrecking down at the first corner.
Looking at the stats, it looks like Matthew Payne may still be leading the race from Blomqvist, but it could be anyone's race at the moment. Matthew Payne, of course, he's a 20-year-old out of Pukekohe, New Zealand, previously racing kart sport, but now iRacing is his thing.
Oh, it certainly is, and that is Tom Blomqvist up into 2nd place then, right up in front of Marcus Armstrong with... He's probably going to need to get himself a hard-wired connection, I think, Marcus Armstrong, ahead of the next round. Because right now, that's not doing him or anyone else around him any favours. Matt Stevens behind, not going to get the draft because that car isn't really there half the time for him.
Good chat with Marcus Armstrong at the beginning of the year, guys. He is one very determined, very committed young man who went to Europe at quite a young age and got more or less immersed in that life that young European racers that it's often quite an important facet of their career, and he's gone and done that. Got some big opportunities this year, and it's quite a fight at the moment for that 2nd position. Payne leading by 0.8 of a second. The young karter, good job.
Well, Marcus Armstrong, of course, a Ferrari Academy driver. We've seen him in New Zealand multiple times campaigning in the Toyota Racing Series. Out here, iRacing today.
Trying to get into turn 1 behind him. Blomqvist cautious. Stevens cautious too. Stevens will pick off the spot, but he's on the wrong side of the track up here for the right-hander as he got on the brakes. Can he cover off? He can't. Blomqvist back up the inside to take the spot back away. But still, they're balked up behind Armstrong as Stevens goes for a beautiful crossover move, but just couldn't quite get the momentum he needed. And Matthew Payne is running away with it. Let's go back to P6 here, Steve. Good battle.
Yeah, Mitch Evans, of course, with the fastest lap of the race so far, 144.7. He's got Reid Harker breathing down his neck at the moment, but I guess the speed is going up and possibly over.
No.
Oh, look at that. Nice ramp on the front end of these cars, isn't it?
Oh. Poor old Ben Stewart going for a wild ride. Take a look at the Global Sim Racing channel replay here from on board with Reid Harker.
Oh, Harker nowhere to go. Lucky though, used the nose of his car as a ramp and drove straight under, but up and over further back in the grid.
Like one of those snow plows, yeah, that they use to clear the snow. That's basically what the front of this car is.
But Matthew Payne still up the front, leading the way. He's got Blomqvist behind him and Marcus Armstrong. Matt Stevens sitting in 4th place from Reid Harker, and Sam Waddell, the New Zealand Super Saloon Car champion, sitting in 6th position, a 3rd-generation driver. So Sam Waddell out of Tauranga, New Zealand. He won the New Zealand Super Saloon Car Championships in Christchurch's Woodford Glen Speedway, getting right in behind Harker. He's going to try and make the outside move coming up here at the beautiful Daytona Speedway.
We're on to the final lap, by the way, folks. It's all Matthew Payne up at the front ahead of Blomqvist, and now Stevens elevating himself up into 3rd place ahead of Marcus Armstrong, who, I tell you what, have a look at this. He's dived back up to the inside. He may have even got his internet connections sorted out, and now he's scrapping it away for the final step on the Heat 2 podium. You see him there, ducking and weaving in behind Matt Stevens, trying to find a way by. Late lunge up the inside. Late on the brakes, pinches the right front, gets into the side of Stevens. They make contact, but Armstrong is through. Stevens, though, going to have an opportunity here, Rusty, to come right on back at him.
Well, as they get back up onto the oval, they go, and you can see a great battle starting. If we can see them lock and load each other, I don't know if there's enough time to get up on the behind of the 2nd position car.
No, I don't think so, but Armstrong is well and truly in the sights for Stevens. He dabs the brakes a tad early to set himself up through the bus stop and get the run out of here. Trying to follow in the footsteps of Scott McLaughlin in race 1, but this time for step 3 on the podium. All Payne and Blomqvist out front. Here comes Stevens, trying to set himself up well to get the run at the opportune time. So might have even got a slowdown at the bus stop. As now Armstrong uses all the racetrack to try to snake that draft away as Matthew Payne takes the checkered flag. Race Heat 2 of the SOS Business Racing Local Series. And I'll tell you what, at the line, Matt Stevens got him by about a bumper, 0.02 of a second separating them. Battle for P8 as well at the line, going to come across bumper to bumper almost. Robert Northway, sorry, Mitch Evans winning that out. No, Northway. Timing screen couldn't keep up there. It was Northway. Christian Hermansen, Ryan Wood coming across 8th, 9th and a 10th. Looks like we might have just lost Rusty for a second, having internet connections of his own, Steve, so we'll keep it rolling, just you and me for now, as we look to get ourselves ready for the feature. As this race comes to its conclusion, for the rest of the drivers out there, we'll have a 5-minute warm-up in between.
A great drive by Matthew Stevens for third position. As I said, 20-year-old for Pukekohe. He uses a Logitech G27 in conjunction with a Fanatec Club Sport V3 pedals. Loves racing the supercars around Bathurst and races a lot with his mate and fellow driver tonight, Liam Lawson.
Checkered flag going to fall on race 2. Grid going to be set for the feature. Can confirm now that top 21 from each race advance. So a few drivers are going to have to pack up their road racing minds early before we head towards the Speedway coming up after this event, because they didn't make it. Some of the notable names, I would say, Chris Vanderdrift missed out. Simon Evans also missing out on making it in. The final 2 drivers that just snuck in were Tim Dossett and Gene Rollinson. And we've got a very competitive top 10 for this feature event. Remember, it's going to be reverse top 10, so it's actually Reid Harker that snagged himself a pole for that one. They've got a 5-minute warm-up here to get their minds back in it.
Well, isn't it fantastic for New Zealand crowds to get in behind their New Zealand races here? Daytona with some of the best drivers that we've seen in the country from every neck of the woods. We've got names like Christian Hermansen, Sam Waddell, drivers like that supporting the Speedway world. We've got the Carters on board. We've got the big names that we've always seen. The Vanderdrifts missed out. Brendon Hartley, of course. Be interesting to see what happens for the big one.
100%. You know, why don't we have a little chat to Brendon Hartley here, Steve, because he can give us a pretty good insight into how it went, trying to set this series up and get it all going. Brendon Hartley, welcome to the booth here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Ryan Jones here.
G'day, mate.
Got to congratulate you, because you and everyone involved with you has done a fantastic job of setting this series up. The response has been phenomenal. The numbers are fantastic all around, from just the amount of people we've gotten involved, the donations, the drivers, the viewers. It's been a fantastic day or so for you.
Yeah, I wish my race went as well as organising the whole thing did, but no, it's been an incredible response from the motorsport community, and I'm talking from all forms of motorsport, to actually get together in one place, raise a bit of money for a good cause. And yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress. I mean, this idea really only came out about a week ago, and you know, I've been working on it together with Chris and Christian and Barry and Louise, and you know, to put this together in 5 days, I think we can maybe do better going forward, and we're going to try and evolve it. But yeah, it's been really fun. But what I would say is, I'm going to maybe hang up the events management card and stick to the racing, mate. It's a lot easier.
Can you tell us? So, Brendon and Steve here. Can you tell us a little bit about SOS?
Yeah, so it's a website that we heard about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the news, and the idea is that they were initially selling vouchers to cafes. Sorry, I got someone else talking in my ear. It's all a bit confusing. Sorry, so they had a website where you could buy a voucher for your local cafe during this lockdown period that you could then redeem later on to keep them afloat. It then turned into an option of donations, and then all small local businesses. So talking, you know, hairdressers, tourism, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, I think they've raised more than $1 million for small New Zealand business. And, you know, we loved that idea and thought, is there a way that we could contribute as well? And the fact that there's all us young drivers and old and retired like Greg sitting around at home playing with their simulators, it was just a perfect opportunity to get us all together. And I think that the most exciting prospect is to actually do this in real life on the other side.
It's funny when you say doing it in real life. I know that leading the Toyota Racing Series, the Toyota 86 Series, there's a guy called Peters Vodanich, who came out of sim racing and actually did the full transition into actually racing itself.
Yeah, there's been a few guys. I mean, I'm just thinking Jan Mardenborough was a guy who came through the PlayStation Academy and raced and maybe even stood on the podium at Le Mans. So I think the skills are very transferable. We're very lucky in motorsport to have sim racing as something we can. Sorry, someone else talking about you. It's incredible that we have something that we can do in the virtual world where the skills are transferable. It's not the same. I'd argue that the sim racing's harder. I mean, I guess you just saw how many crashes there's been. You don't have that same feel. You don't. So in a way, you need to spend more time practicing for the sim racing. But it's fun. It's been enjoyable, and also connecting with people that we wouldn't normally.
It must feel nice as a team owner when you're watching this sort of thing when your car gets upside down, though.
Yeah, good on the pocket.
Thank you for joining us here, Brendon. Hopefully we get to have a chat to you in potentially a race-winning kind of way a little bit later on in the evening. Still got sprint cars coming up, but go back and have a chat to those other people in your ears, and best of luck.
Yeah, cheers.
So Ryan, tell me a little bit about your background. Of course, a lot of likes of Greg, myself, we do play a little bit on the old TV world. You yourself, you are a specialist iRacing commentator, and listening to you tonight, you're going to take a lot of jobs in the real world.
I mean, that's the plan, I guess, at the moment. Yeah, I've been trying to dabble in iRacing and in commentary for the last almost a year, coming up on a year now, for companies like SimSpeed TV and Global Sim Racing Channel here on iRacing. They've both done a fantastic job to help develop, and Jay Kennedy and Sean Ambrose, who's actually behind the scenes on this one tonight, have both done a fantastic job helping me out. And yeah, I'm hoping to we've been talking about drivers going from sim racing to real racing, Steve, but our proposition this year, what about a commentator going from esports to real world?
I need you to move to New Zealand, and then I can find you a job straight away. Although we don't actually have any work at the moment. The entire events industry has been switched off for a little while. I think one of the enjoyable things for me is actually looking up into this Daytona crowd and actually seeing people standing side by side, not with a 2 meter different distance with COVID-19.
Yeah, you don't know how many jokes we've heard about that over the past month on various broadcasts and the iRacing community. But yeah, it's good to see a full packed house here at virtual Daytona Speedway. Of course, that's the backstraight grandstand. That doesn't exist anymore. And, well, to tell you this, there's two versions of Daytona on iRacing. This is the legacy version. So this was scanned in 2007, which means the track surface is what it was in 2007. And I even just saw a plane in the background there. Another one of the wacky features, or good features that iRacing's brought in. So it's really bumpy up on the speedway. The 2011 scan, the current version, which has current updates along with the Daytona Rising update and all that sort of thing, is much smoother. But the layout is exactly the same, and yeah.
So we can't be far away from going green here for the big one, or the first half of the night here.
Nope, coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 here. Rolling start once again, going to be a 16-lap event. Your fastest drivers from race 1, heat 1 and heat 2, they're starting 10th and 9th. Scott McLaughlin from 10th, Matthew Payne from 9th. Front row going to be Reid Harker and Liam Lawson. Now, I'll tell you what, look out for Liam Lawson. Getting the opportunity to start this one from second after the incident at the end of heat 1 with Andre Heimgartner, who, by the way, is starting way back in 15th place. Look out then. As we go racing local for SOS Business, for local businesses across New Zealand. We put that green flag in the air, we go racing for the feature, and we get ourselves single file top 5 down into turn number 1, but then they're 3 wide behind them.
Well, it's going to be a big dive down into the first turn. They make it nicely around the big, sweeping left-hander. 3 wide, one car getting pushed right out wide. But Harker will lead out Lawson as they come through the first half of the lap here. It looked like a dive bomb from Van Gisbergen about to happen. Oh, we've got a couple of cars over-rotating further back in the grid, and that race will be essentially thrown away from them. Harker's still up front.
He is, but his margin is almost non-existent as Lawson harasses the back of him. Up into the braking zone. Look out for Van Gisbergen. Lawson tried to set himself up for the good run out of the corner, but SVG was having none of it. He shoved his nose up the inside there. and Armstrong just behind him. Your top four have broken away by about 5 or so car lengths over James Watson in 6. Up onto NASCAR 1 and 2 then. This is where the games and the foxing starts to come into effect. When drivers start to make that slipstream work and play with it how they like, you can see Lawson's not paying too much attention to being in it all the time. He's trying to make sure he gets the run at exactly the right moment. As you see there, Harker to the inside defending. Lawson lunging around the outside as Armstrong goes to the inside of Gisbergen, all changing up into the bus stop. Lawson emerges out at the head of it, I should say, with a big margin over Harker.
Well, it's a long race, Shane Van Gisbergen, just allowing him to just get out of the way. You might, I'll just settle into my race. It's 16 laps here at Daytona, but we see a challenge for second position.
That is Marcus Armstrong riding on board with Van Gisbergen as he goes below the yellow line. And look out for Lawson going backwards through the middle. One on either side. Armstrong to the lead. Contacts and the top two crash. Lawson comes through the middle ahead of them all. Getting escorted out to the outside of turn 1 was Marcus Armstrong.
Second
That
place
was
Van
contact.
Gisbergen at the moment.
Yeah.
You can see the
Look at Harker's car is broken.
Armstrong
Harker's
car
is
coming
done.
back on the track. So Liam Lawson leads out Shane Van Gisbergen, Watson. Scotty Max made his way up. He's now in 4th, making his way through into 2nd place, and he's going to be locking in behind the fellow supercars pilot Shane Van Gisbergen very, very soon.
Well, that was big contact there. It was just the slightest touch from Lawson that unsettled poor old Harker up on the top side and rotated Armstrong around. Harker with big damage. Lawson emerges unscathed from that then. Right up in front of Van Gisbergen with Armstrong at the back now, trying to fight with Arden Williams. Take a look at this battle between Brendon Hartley and Tom Blomqvist. Two New Zealand, two drivers that have really taken it to the international world. As on board with Blomqvist as he ducks to the outside, the British Swede trying to sweep up the New Zealand driver, the ex-Formula 1 star, two-time World Endurance champion. Going to have to tuck in behind and try his luck down at turn 1. Big
was
crash
huge.
behind.
A big
Still
crash,
crashing.
still flying upside down. Where to watch here at Daytona as the cameraman repositions. You can see massive damage in the background. A couple of cars stopped out there on track.
That was Aaron Williams, so I said Marcus Armstrong had rejoined into the battle with him. Wonder if he was involved. Wonder if his race has gone from bad to worse. So this is Armstrong at the head of this train. That's Aaron Williams, the blue car in the middle. So what has happened to him is he gets up on the back of Armstrong. He pulls to the inside, gets blocked. Carter is outside. Oh no, Armstrong into the fence. And Aaron Williams sandwiched in the middle, goes through a wild ride and down the back straight away. And finally came to a rest on all 4 tyres. Eyes back to the front.
Well, 6 times upside down. Liam Lawson has taken the lead from Shane Van Gisbergen. There had been a change earlier on with Van Gisbergen taking the spot up the front, but Liam Lawson claws it back and is trying to drive away from it, but he's got 2 extremely experienced sim drivers in behind.
He certainly does. Well, it's a Red Bull Junior driving in Formula 3 up against 3 Supercars championships in his rear-view mirror. Well, they're all very experienced in sim racing, so there's a bit of an equaliser there, but this is a true test of talent. This is what's great about sim racing too, Steve. You get to see drivers who normally never race each other in fixed setups too. There's all down to the driver, the setups are the same, so it's all down to what each individual driver's got in terms of their ability, and we're seeing it here.
Again. And a change again up front with Van Gisbergen. You can see different lines for a lot of these drivers as they come up onto the big bank here at Daytona. Liam Lawson going for the outside line, trying to make the long way around with lap 3 of 16 done and dusted. It's a long race to go.
Scotty dabbed the brakes then because he was Orbs getting boxed in. Now he's going to go to the middle. So for not the first time today, they're 3 abreast for the lead of the race. Down in turn number 1, McLaughlin trying to go through the middle of them both. And he's going to do it as Van Gisbergen eases off on the inside. And I think we can join Greg Rust in the comms box once again. I believe he's managed to sort out whatever grumblings he was having, and I believe he's back.
Well, Rusty, not too far away from joining us here at Daytona. This is the 3rd race of the night, but the big one for the first half of it. with McLaughlin leading out. Liam Lawson from Shane van Gisbergen. Watson in 4th place from Blomqvist in 5th. 6th goes to Hedge at the moment. Hartley sitting in 7th from Adams and Stevens, Adams and Waite in the top 10.
Battle for the final spot inside the top 5 is very hot indeed as Watson loses it to Tom Blomqvist down the inside as that's Callum Hedge just in behind them to the Toyota 86 racer, and Brendon Hartley just off the back of these guys as Hedge having a few issues at the moment with his internet, as well as here comes Watson slipstreaming full effect to the inside of Blomqvist down the back straight into the bus stop. They go 3 cars covered by a couple tents, and Blomqvist has to duck out and lose 2 spots there as Hartley closes up to both of them now.
So for those that are new to the iRacing platform, the flashing car on screen, tell me about that.
Well, when you're having an issue with your internet, that happens. So if your internet isn't strong enough, or you're not able to keep up in terms of your graphics, and so your computer's lagging, your car will start blinking in and out like that. And oftentimes, the driver themselves won't actually know if you're blinking out for them. In other situations, you will not see anyone else, but they might see you. Or no one sees you, you can't see anyone else, then you're in a real big problem. But generally when that happens, you can't sort of do anything about it without resetting or hoping for the best. And drivers often will do the gentlemanly thing and pull off to the side, but at the moment it looks to be good enough for Callum Hedge that he can stay in there at the moment. And for those asking for us to do the old Control R again and get those paints back up, we've done it. We've done it a couple times this broadcast already. The paints just don't want to go up. We are sorry about that, and we will do everything we can as we go forward in the evening and for the rest of the series. Still 4 weeks ahead of us, but right now this is the best that we can do.
We'll see if we can get them into the paint shop before we turn them into sprint cars for Knoxville coming up. So one of the things that I noticed was these 4 drivers here, none of them are slow. These guys are ultra quick, but 6.6 seconds separates this group from the leaders up front with McLaughlin, Lawson and van Gisbergen. And the separation between 1st and 3rd right now, 0.4 of a second.
It is, but the battle of 4th, there's nothing in that, but is there? 4 cars, nothing between them.
But the inside pass.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in that third position in the battle we see on screen, it's a case of who do I pick to slipstream?
I don't know. You've got to pick the faster car. But at the front, Lawson's coming back at McLaughlin. He had a look to the outside as these guys run 3 wide. I don't know where to look because these two are both very, very good battles as Blomqvist will emerge back out of the headers. We go back up to the front now. Lawson, you can still see in 2nd place after being side by side with the race leader. These 3 are both very experienced. I guarantee you these 3 are playing a game between them, trying to put themselves in the best spot possible.
So van Gisbergen, he's quite happy at the moment to sit in 3rd position. We are currently a third of the way through with our first back marker that we're going to play into this game, into this race here tonight at Daytona.
Yep, and luckily the lap traffic probably not going to be too annoying in terms of trying to get by them, but going to give a benefit probably to McLaughlin here with that slipstream. If you catch them in the wrong place, they are going to be very dastardly to try to get around. But right here, McLaughlin's going to love it because he gets a very nice slipstream. But now he's going to get held up into the bus stop. Matthew Griffin right in the way. This is where McLaughlin did not want to catch him. And look at Lawson. Rears up onto the back of us. McLaughlin uses all the tow he can. Then he has to pull to the inside as Lawson, using Matthew Griffin up on the outside, goes to the middle. And to the lead of the race, going to come Liam Lawson as van Gisbergen behind. Has the best run of them all. Watch for him to take them 3 wide once again. This time it's SVG going to the middle. He's going to clear McLaughlin and dive down low. Liam Lawson won't lead this lap. And it'll be Shane van Gisbergen 3rd to 1st.
Well, a great job from Shane van Gisbergen, threading the needle down the front straight here, diving into the first turn. Beautiful sweeping corner. and hard on the gas again he goes, leading out this great battle between himself, Liam Lawson, and McLaughlin. McLaughlin now sitting in third place.
We'll go back to that battle with... Well, that Brendon Hartley battle's just dissipated itself, hasn't it, a bit? He's fallen off the back of them, and it's now between, I guess, Callum Hedge and James Watson, the closest of those drivers. Now, I wonder if Rusty's finally back with us now.
Sure am, guys. Yeah, this is sorry about the little glitch there, but I watched Van Gisbergen go right through the middle as they went 3 wide there before. Lawson very hungry after that final incident on the run to the line in that previous heat that we saw in McLaughlin. What a star-studded lineup this is. A young man on the rise in world motorsport in the middle, and Gisbergen doing a super job in that car that you can see up front. Lawson's had a good run here as they came off the banking. Brush of the brake there from Van Gisbergen. He dives to the inside and protects that line.
This is a fantastic scrap, and you can see Lawson. He couldn't do anything there with the run that McLaughlin had to come through them all, as he will go side by side with him, but the momentum peters out. Here comes Van Gisbergen. It's like a repeat of last lap. Through the middle, and he's going to take it away and try to dive down low. Can't quite clear Lawson though at the line. It will be SVG, but these top 3 are covered at the line by 0.07 of a second. Truly an incredible race with 9 laps to go.
And Gisbergen very familiar in real-world terms with the Daytona layout. Was there only in recent months, has been there on more than one occasion. Look at this, what a fabulous battle. Van Gisbergen, Liam Lawson, Scott McLaughlin.
And Liam Lawson this time choosing the opportunity to slide down that inside line. Van Gisbergen, though, fighting back, set himself up for track position. And here comes Scotty Mack with the inside pass as well into second place.
Can't get enough of this as McLaughlin into second to the outside of Van Gisbergen. When we started this year, did any of us think we would be calling a race with Shane Van Gisbergen, Scott McLaughlin and Liam Lawson in a radical at Daytona?
No, is the short answer to the question.
Certainly did not.
But here we are, and what a show it is putting on. This is why we love sim racing, because it is fantastic as they run door to door again into the bus stop. Someone's got to blink, and it'll be McLaughlin. Van Gisbergen will squeak through again, but they won't be in these positions when they get to the start-finish stripe. That much I can guarantee you.
To absolute pros when it comes to eSeries racing like this, going at it up in front, and a young man, as we said before, on the rise in world motorsport, who's worked with the likes of Kenny Smith, is part of that Red Bull framework now.
It's Lawson's turn this time to go straight through the middle.
Oh, we've seen this story a few times today, haven't we? Almost every lap, someone has split the middle. It's been Van Gisbergen on most occasions. This time it's Lawson, as McLaughlin will emerge in third out of this, with the driver up at the front, still being SVG. As another lapped car coming up just to the front. That's Tim Dossett. Looks like they should catch him up on the oval section of the track, and as long as they clear him before the bus stop, shouldn't be as troublesome for the leader as it was last lap's car we caught.
So Ryan, tell me, have we got tyre wear issues during this race here? What's the go with that one here in the iRacing?
Yes, tyre wear is definitely an issue in iRacing. iRacing is actually in the process of implementing something called New Tyre Model 7, version 7, I should say, which helps to realistically enhance the effects of the cold tyres and a range of technical factors that honestly go over my head. I'm a commentator, not a technical expert in terms of that, but I can tell you that you just have to look after it. The good news is that 16 laps at this track, especially with the nature of the racetrack being full throttle for quite some time, shouldn't be much of an issue. But certainly, you're going to see the drivers that are super aggressive start to struggle a little bit towards the end. It's definitely going to be a factor.
I also think that we're going to see this race come down to a one-lap shootout. These guys here, all they're doing is working as a team to ensure that that gap is starting to grow between themselves and that battle for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th position. So Gisbergen leads. He's coming through. Liam Lawson looking to come in underneath. And this is the battle, I think, for 4th and 5th, Blomqvist and Watson.
Yeah, that's Watson. Still fending them off down on the inside of the racetrack. These two can't seem to get away from each other as we hit 7 laps to go now. Back at the front, it's Lawson, McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen now your top 3. At the light, it was Van Gisbergen second. Somehow he's third because they seem to be changing every single time we look up there as they are really now starting to get into some big groups of laps cars. They've absolutely gapped everyone else, haven't they? 7.4 seconds from Van Gisbergen in third to Blomqvist back in 4th. A massive margin. The quality of these 3 drivers not to be understated.
In all sorts of machinery too, and in iRacing terms, they're super. Particularly McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen have lots of experience in that area. Van Gisbergen was in Australia, of course, for the Australian Grand Prix event. So was McLaughlin, which ultimately didn't go ahead. The support event, or the main aspect of it, kicking off on Thursday. They still had some practice and qualifying, but the Friday to Sunday action was cancelled. Van Gisbergen decided to come back to, he's based mainly in Queensland nowadays, decided to come back to New Zealand, and he's been here ever since. So he's been here for, 5 to sort of 6 weeks. But it's great that he's keeping busy with some competition like this, and he just loves it.
A big shout out to his dad, Cheese. Is he staying at Dad's house? It'll be interesting to see. I know he was talking about having bad internet problems the other day, so he didn't want to run a camera and out there. So just happy to sit there and race by himself and talk when he needs to.
Look at this. Lawson, McLaughlin, they're side by side. And like a story being repeated with perfect accuracy, they'll be side by side in the turn 1, and it'll be McLaughlin coming out on top this time. It's like the same little story every lap, but each lap, the outcome changes. It's the final lap that's going to count, though.
What's happened here? The 13 car, that's weight.
It is beat up, I can tell you that much. That rear wing, not at the angle it's supposed to be. Rusty, take a look at this replay here. What's going on? Was it contact, maybe?
To tell from...
Yeah, out of the bus stop, maybe? Oh, he's just lost it, hasn't he?
Well, no, lost it. Lost it coming out of the bus stop, and it's fired it up into the wall. What a shame for Wade.
A lot of broken parts in that car there.
Big shame indeed. Well, back at the front, it's almost 3 wide again. Lawson, McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen on the top, but McLaughlin to the inside. Lawson did not try to defend it that time. By into the bus stop. McLaughlin takes it away. He won't be leading up the stripe. They're all learning right now, aren't they? They're not just mindlessly racing around, change positions. All 3 of these drivers are learning exactly where they need to be to get their nose in front at the start-finish line. Not a moment before, not a moment after.
Well, the racing's so tight up the front as well. Blomqvist might be the one that's going to be the winner at the end of it, because at some stage we're going to see a lunge, and that might be with 100 metres to go for the finish with 6 laps to go. As I say that, Blomqvist did switch positions with Hedge, but has moved back. But the leader up the front this time, Shane Van Gisbergen. Interesting
to note there, Rossi, how far back Van Gisbergen was coming out of the bus stop. His nose was ahead at the checkered stripe on the rival there.
Go back, yeah, good point. We go back and have a look at the battle for position number 4. Callum Hedge, Blomqvist, look at this, and that's a change for position there. They'll go side by side out of this part of the track. Just thinking back to that incident for Waite before, I feel for him. He's a guy that, we've been used to in the real world of racing, pairing up with the likes of Tony Quinn. He works as a driving instructor at Highlands Motorsport Park, of course, 30 years of age nowadays. He's got a lot of experience, but this, we're focused back on the battle for 4th position. And just like what's happening up in front, it's a 3-way fight. If you've just joined us, you're watching week 1 of 4 Racing Local, coming to you from New Zealand, a whole range of, we were fully subscribed with more than 24 hours to go before the first of our races, and we've got 2 hours of coverage. We've just about done the first of the action at Daytona, and we will switch to some sprint car action very soon, so don't leave us, whatever you do.
Huge tank slapper for Scott McLaughlin. I thought 2 times there. He could go in defense. We'll take a look at the replay. This was wild for your race leader into the bus stop, and he just lost on the exit.
Carried good speed through there, though, didn't he? And just, I think on the exit, maybe upset the car, and good job to catch it.
That's going to be very, very difficult for him to take for him to get onto the back of that battle again. You can see that there's daylight between himself and the battle for first and second place.
Well, if they come together, he's going to be right in it, isn't he? Because these two now are suddenly dicing a bit more aggressively. Lawson and Van Gisbergen side by side through the infield. Haven't seen that in this race so far, with 4 laps to go now. Starting to get down to the business end of this feature race. Van Gisbergen still with his car in front. What sort of outright pace can McLaughlin show now from 3rd place? Because he's 1.5 back. He was 2.2 back through turn 1, so he's closing in. He's got the pace. As these two battle, they slow each other up through the corners. That's the crucial part. They may be fast down the straightaway, but through the corners, they are very slow as a result of the battling. And look at that, the gap is under a second already.
Well, this is the battle for 7th position with Brendon Hartley chasing down Stevens in the 4 car. Hartley riding on board Brendon Hartley. Right on the yellow line. And powering down the straight here at Daytona. We'll go side by side into the bus stop, riding the ripple strips. And here is the battle for the lead again, and Scott McLaughlin comes straight back in it. He thought he'd thrown it away with a gap of 2 seconds that he formed between himself and first and second position. Shane Van Gisbergen, though, leads the way, and he's got Supercar's friend and colleague out there, of course, Scotty Mack in second place. Liam Lawson just a little bit off, but we know during the race that has not been a problem. It's going to be 3 wide shortly. There's 3 to go before we switch to Speedway. This is the first big race of the night here. So Shane Van Gisbergen comes back out of the turn. What is Scotty Mack going to do this time here? Liam Lawson's going to come in for the tow as well. And they will make their way back out onto the Speedway. Riding on board Liam Lawson, you can see sparks coming off the car in front. Scotty Mack, the gap now 0.3 of a second, and look at the speed, and you can see the toe of Liam Lawson on the 2 car, but Scotty Mack, he's come up and grabbed the toe off Shane Van Gisbergen, comes down the inside. Liam Lawson looks, do I follow one, do I follow the other, tucks him behind, and will settle for 3rd place this lap. Still 3 to go, and it is Scotty Mack who leads out Shane Van Gisbergen, supercar, and a superstar in 3rd place, Liam Lawson.
Now that is some solid alliteration right there, isn't it? Rusty, still having those issues. We're going to add another man up here to the booth for a little bit here. This is Chris Vanderdrift joining us up here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
How you going?
Not bad. How are you going watching this race?
Oh, would rather be in it, to be honest, but nah, it's looking good. It's looking good out there.
Well, Chris, what have you thought of the race so far as we see SVG and now Lawson sitting in 2nd position?
Yeah, these guys have just gapped it from the rest, haven't they? Good little battle going on, and just have to wait till the end and see who pulls the demon slipstream, I reckon.
Chris, not your night tonight. You started off in kart sport. You also raced for Team Kiwi, and I heard you've moved to Asia to race in the Porsche series, a bit of a household name in New Zealand motorsport.
Yeah, that's right. So I've done most of my career has basically been over in Europe. So when I did karting in New Zealand, and then I moved on and and started single seaters over there, and then switched over to the GT world. And as of the last 5 years, I've been racing in Asia, doing the GT3 and Porsche Girl Cup mainly over there.
Well, there is two to go here, Daytona. Sorry,
Steve. How did you end up not in this feature race, Chris? What went wrong for you?
Funny enough, Brendon actually took me out on that second corner. So I had a pretty good start there, and then I just got turned around, but I got rolled over, and I had heaps of damage, so I struggled back to the pits. But by the time I got back, I was already at the back, so it was game over.
What did the team boss have to say as we? What did the team boss have to say?
I tried to call him actually, but he didn't pick up.
Well, this is how you get a tow here in iRace at McLaughlin, locked and loaded with Liam Lawson.
Got to say, I'm impressed by how quickly McLaughlin bounced back from that wild moment out of the bus stop. And as they come across, they'll see that white flag on their screens up on the flag stand too. One more time around in Daytona tonight in the Radical SR8. Racing local here to support local businesses and SOS Business, who are helping to distribute all those funds to those in need. We are going to find out who takes out our first ever race before we go sprint car racing in Knoxville. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Who will win it then? It's Van Gisbergen, Lawson and McLaughlin. So much talent from such different categories up inside of this top three. Going to be half a lap to go as I come up onto the oval section, just a moment's time.
Well, here goes the dive, and Van Gisbergen wide. Liam Lawson trying to tuck in underneath. We have watched them all race long set themselves up for this lap, and what is going to happen?
Three cars, only one can emerge victorious from this. It's a good margin for SVG, but suddenly it's going to be non-existent as Rusty again returns back into the booth, because this is going to be wild at the bus stop for the final time. Lawson trying to fend off McLaughlin, but Scotty Mac doesn't want to go for that. He doesn't want to disadvantage a potential fight for the win.
Lawson's carried good speed into this section of the circuit. You can see the defensive approach, but look at that little bit of extra momentum from Van Gisbergen. Lawson lunges. This is going to be a terrific run to the finish. They're three wide. McLaughlin on the high side. In the middle is Van Gisbergen, and Liam Lawson down low.
McLaughlin flashing the brakes, trying to get back behind to get a tow. He shoots to the middle. He goes to the outside as Van Gisbergen defends the inside. Here they come to the start-finish line. Going to be a photo finish. Who's going to get him? Three wide at the line. I can't call that. Who was it? It was Scott McLaughlin. The gap.
Oh, there's been contact.
Zero.
Contact afterwards.
Zero. Zero
Wow.
seconds at the line. We can't even see the gap on the leaderboard. 0.008 of a second between the top three drivers. Truly incredible finish at Daytona.
They talk about photo finishes, don't they? Check this out. Look at this. Look at the way McLaughlin carried the momentum. Caesars tries to dive down the middle, ends up going to the outside. Lawson in that green car. Look, he almost gets in the grass there. The two left-hand side wheels, and as they cross the line, nothing in it. Hopefully we'll carry the replay on here, because as they go down into one, Lawson's slowed up, and I think, as you can see there, Van Gisbergen's hit him. What's happened there?
Well, post-race and iRacing, Rusty, that happens 9 times out of 10. Don't worry about it. Trust me. That is
so he's trying to turn him upside down.
Not having to pay for your repair bills incurs that after the race. The drivers are having fun. It's all good.
Well, look at the results. Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen, 0.00 seconds in behind Scotty Mac. Incredible.
These are your results. You said earlier, Steve, I do a lot of these races as a commentator, but I have never called a finish with that margin of victory. I've never called a finish with 3 drivers under 100th of a second at the line. That's as close as you will ever see. And somehow McLaughlin was the one in front from SVG and Liam Lawson. What a battle. You can see the rest of your top 10 there up on the screen. Tom Blomqvist coming home in 4th. In the end, only 1.6 seconds off those top 3. They lost a lot of time on that lead lap, trying to fox their way into a good position. Brendon Hartley coming across in 8th, and the rest of the results coming through there as well.
As we look back at some of the results further back in the pack, Northway, 11th place, going down to Reid Harker in 20th, 1 lap back. And you see the last one out there, 30th, Flynn Godfrey, 1 lap back. Greg Murphy the same. Sam Waddell. As we look at Giltrap, Jackson Lovely, Hayden Paddon, not a good one. Christian Hermansen, he's 3 laps back. And Mitch Evans, 12 laps back at the end after major contact earlier on in the race. That was it for the first half of the night. Our next one up, though, Ryan, we are going to Knoxville. It's sprint car time, and I can't wait.
Neither can I. We're going to have to wait just a minute or so. We're going to take a very short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll go on sprint car racing at Knoxville. We'll see if we can have a chat with our top 3 after that incredible finish. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel. You just saw one of the greatest finishes you will ever see in sim racing or even motorsport. A photo finish, a complete dead heat of the line to conclude the Radicals at Daytona. Here we go in Racing Local to support local businesses, an SOS business who is distributing all of the funds to the nominated businesses and all of that. And well, now we're going to back it up with a race at Knoxville, going sprint car racing, and coming to talk to us after taking out one of the best wins I will ever see, Scott McLaughlin. Wow.
That was fun, huh? Did you guys like that?
Loved it. That was one of the best races I've ever called on sim racing, and I've called a few of them, including, where do we start with that? The final lap, there looked like there was a lot of foxing on the oval section of the racetrack. I saw at least both you and Van Gisbergen on the brakes trying to get back behind to generate a run. What was the go there on that last lap?
Yeah, we were trying our best to let Liam in front. He's smart, that kid. He's a good kid, and he did a good job. And yeah, we were just trying to not lead one of us. And then Shane's like, "Oh, I'll just slow right down and try and get a jump." It's a bit of a trick on iRacing as well. And yeah, we ended up just having an awesome run to the line. And I committed to what I thought was the right time to go. And I just went, and then, thankfully just held on at the end and just turned it into Shane. It was funny.
Scotty, it's Rusty here, mate.
Rusty.
There's been some great results in your career, mate, but I would imagine there's only a handful where it's .000.
That's the closest finish I think I've ever had in my career. So that's funny. But look, like I said, great cause, and had so many people. I think we had 2,000 odd viewers on my Twitch right now. So it's really cool, and that's the main thing.
Scotty, Max, Steve here. One of the things that we talked about up in the commentary box was, with 16 laps to go, we saw what you guys were doing. You guys were three of you. Was the whole thing about where your car was placed with 1 lap to go?
Yeah. I quietly made my decision to back off to the third spot with about 2 to go and just chill out. And then eventually Shane tried to have like a little off, and Liam was onto it. That's what I mean. Like, the kid is smart. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, credit to Liam, credit to Shane, awesome battle, and that's what it's all about. But this is completely different now. This is going to be a lot of fun, and looking forward to heading Knoxville in the sprint car.
Most certainly
so tell
is.
us, have you ever raced a sprint car or driven a sprint car before? I don't think you have.
No, I've never driven anything on dirt before, so we'll see how we go. I'm not too confident. I'll give you the tip.
Hey, just quickly too, Scotty, the Racing Local Facebook page, lots of interaction, lots of chat there from different people who are watching it at the moment. And I notice that Dwayne Bewley's watching the action. You've been looking after his young son, Tom, in karting. He hails from Hawke's Bay, doesn't he?
Yep, he does. He's part of the Repco young driver development. A young kid that Tom, who's going places from Hawke's Bay, and we were teammates in a go-kart race about a year ago, and he was a great kid, so awesome to have some support and sort of take him under my wing, and really enjoying that. So hopefully I can teach him a few things that maybe I was sort of singing out for when I was younger as well from other people. So yeah, it's all about just trying to pass on to the next generation, especially Kiwi drivers, and even doing stuff like this and seeing Liam. He's a star of the future in all forms of motorsport, and really excited for him.
We are looking forward to seeing if you will stand on that loud pedal in this, mate. You need the wing to work, don't you?
Yeah, I'm going to go get a beer. Might loosen me up a little bit.
All right. Thank you for joining us here, Scotty. We'll let you go. We'll
Thanks,
go
guys.
talk to Liam Lawson. Best of luck. And we're going to have a chat then to Liam Lawson. I don't think you'll ever come up closer than that without winning the race. You've battled with Van Gisbergen before in races like 2K Cup, but in this race, in the Radical at Daytona, did you ever imagine that?
No, I didn't imagine it to be that close. I knew obviously the toe was big, so I knew it was going to be very, very close, the racing. But I didn't expect it to be that close. And I think, throughout the whole race, we were just letting each other go. I think we were all trying to work out where to be on the last lap. And obviously nobody wanted to be leading, so everyone kept slowing down. On the last lap, we probably were close to 10 seconds off what we normally would have been because we slowed down so much. But it was really, really enjoyable. I really, really enjoyed it. But not going to lie, it's a little bit disappointing coming that close.
Liam, it's Steve here. I was down at Teretonga Park earlier on this year watching you race, and I thought, this kid is supersonically fast. You back that up tonight. It sounds like those two boys in front that took the first and second place might have been playing some team tactics on you, because they tried, both of them tried to balk up a little bit to give yourself a bit of room so that they could be sitting in behind you for that last lap.
Thank you. Yeah, potentially. There could have been a bit of that, obviously. They both race each other a lot, so I think they might have been in a call together at the same time. I'm not sure, but it was a really, really fun race for me. I enjoyed racing so close with them. Really, really fair as well. So obviously the heat race didn't go so well. That was my bad. I tried to make a late move and cost me a good result there. So I wanted to play it a little bit more safe in the last one. But very, very close, very enjoyable though.
Hey, Liam, Rusty here, mate. We've got to go because Shane van Gisbergen is standing by. Thank you very much for chatting to us. And I would imagine you're really excited to get back to the real world of racing too.
Yeah, very excited. Obviously, it's disappointing what's happened this year. Obviously, it's the safest option to do what everyone's doing, and I fully understand it. But I'm desperate to get back in the car again. Obviously, the sim racing is fun, but it's nothing like driving the real car.
Thank you very much for joining us here. Liam Lawson, best of luck for the sprint cars. Let's have a chat to Shane van Gisbergen. Well, have you ever come third and only been 0.008 of a second off the race win?
I come second, brother.
You come second? Well, I mean, you may as well have come third because it was that close, wasn't it, Shane? I mean, one of the closest finishes
mega race,
I've ever
heaps of
seen.
fun. Heaps of fun, fair bit of banter between the boys. We got a new team for tonight, Minion Muzz Motorsport, with Frank's Eatery as our charity of choice for the night. So yeah, having a bit of fun and putting a good show on.
Most certainly have been. Well, between yourself, McLaughlin, and Lawson, there was a lot of foxing going on. I think we're all aware of that on that race, and especially that last lap. You were on the brakes in a flat-out section of the racetrack. In terms of your plan, you might have been saying one thing to McLaughlin over chat and stuff. I know you're both in a chat together, I do believe. But yourself, what was the plan for that final lap to try and be the one to get across?
Well, it was 2 against 1, so Minion Motorsport, we had to win it. So yeah, we were trying to work together. One of us had to win, but man, Lawson's an awesome driver and a cool kid, so great to have a fun race. But I knew I didn't want to be the leader, so I was trying to help myself. Pulled first gear at the last chicane where you're normally in fourth, and away we went. But yeah, couldn't quite get there.
Just short. It's got to hurt. But now, sprint car racing, wildly different format. You've done a lot of sim racing. I've called many events with you in it over sim racing over the last few weeks, but not a dirt race. How much experience you got here on the dirt?
Oh yeah, I don't mind Speedway. It's what I grew up racing, but I think there's a few Speedway guys here in this race, so it should be pretty awesome. I haven't seen the format or don't know what the deal is yet, but yeah, hopefully get amongst it and make the AMA and have some fun.
Of course, Shane, Steve here. One of the things that I noticed earlier on was that you actually came out of Springs. You have had your taste of real dirt action in the past.
Oh yeah, love my Speedway, man. So yeah, I was still racing when I went to Supercars in Aussie. I had to give it up, but you know, still love it. Still go to the Springs as much as possible. So yeah, should be cool.
Thank you very much, Shane. Best of luck for the sprint cars. Maybe we'll have a chat to you after that. Go and
All
get
right,
it.
guys, enjoy it.
Thank you very much. And now, someone that knows his way around a sprint car or two. Steve, this one's all yours with Christian Hermansen.
Christian Hermansen, 3 times New Zealand mini sprint champion. Welcome to the show. Are you enjoying it out there, mate? So we're trying to talk to Christian Hermansen. Just jump in if you can hear us. Christian Hermansen, a 3 times New Zealand sprint car champion. He won the Grand Slam for the New Zealand Speedway in 2018-19 with the Grand Prix North Island Championship in the same year as winning the New Zealanders. Was also named the Competitor of the Year at Robinson Holden International Speedway, the track that Christian knows very, very well. I'm not sure if Christian can hear us, but he's welcome to jump in on the action if he can, Christian. He would certainly know his way around a speedway track, being used to having a wing on the roof of his car. Knoxville, though, this is the home of Speedway. We can see the museum, the Hall of Fame out in the background there.
It's in the iRacing system. It's right there off the outside of Turn 2. I've got to draw us away from this for a moment because something pretty cool. We've just hit 10,000 subscribers up on the Global Sim Racing channel YouTube. So thank you to everyone that subscribed over this broadcast, because we started this broadcast at 9.8 thousand and we're at 10k now. So thank you everyone who's tuned in and enjoying this over on YouTube. We love you all over on Facebook as well, but go subscribe to us on YouTube.
Absolutely. Just looking at a couple of Speedway drivers we have got in here. We got Christian Hermansen that we just mentioned. Hayden Guptill, he's a 21-year-old superstar, quarter midgets, mini stocks, multiple different classes, TQ midgets, and now racing midgets as well. We've certainly got our fair share. Sam Waddell, he's a 1NZ in the New Zealand Super Saloon Car Championship. That guy also ran 4th in the DD2 World Karting Championship last year, 2019. The list goes on. Matthew Levisage, he's a 23-year-old out of Christchurch, runs out of Ruapuna Speedway in Christchurch. He's also racing the TQ Midgets, but he races a J&J sprint car. What do you know about sprint car racing, Ryan?
Well, not an expert myself, but I've just chatted with Christian Hermansen, and he's figured out his issue, and he's back, and he can talk.
Sorry about that, guys. I was too busy trying to tune up for this sprint car race to chat, but I'm good to go now.
Well, Christian Hermansen, 580 kgs, the dry weight of a sprint car, generating 2-ton of downforce, and you're here at the home of sprint car racing, Knoxville. What does it mean for a 3-time New Zealand mini sprint champion to get your taste of Knoxville?
Yeah, it's cool. The first race at Daytona didn't sort of go my way. I had a great heat. I started grid 26 and got 9th in my heat, so I was really happy with that. So that wasn't probably my strongest discipline, but yeah, to be back on the dirt is a nice feeling. You can't beat the dirt. It's what we all love, and what's really cool about the whole concept is that we've got guys like Shane Van Gisbergen, Brendon Hartley, Scott McLaughlin, a whole bunch of these guys onto the dirt, and they've been racing tarmac their whole life. So now we're going to give them a taste of what dirt's about.
Are we looking at running a 3/4 inch, maybe a 1 inch, or maybe no wicker bill at all tonight on the wing of that sprint car?
Should we bamboozle the whole live stream with just like real jargon speedway chat, Steve?
Well, I guess it depends how slick the track is and how much stagger you're planning on running tonight, Christian.
Yeah, so it's first of all, it's a fixed setup race. So myself and former New Zealand TQ champion Hayden Guptill have slaved over this setup for a couple of days. So we think we've got it in a good place for all 60 of our drivers tonight. So I think this the speedway deal for those who have just sort of maybe this is their first time ever watching speedway. Basically, as the night is going to go on here, the track's going to get slower. So the fastest lap times will be in qualifying, and then sort of as the dirt disappears, it sounds weird because the whole track's dirt, but as the dirt disappears, the track's going to get a lot slower. So as the night it's going to rub it down. We get some rubber on the track, and the track goes a bit slower. So it's sort of the opposite of circuit racing. So you'll see these cars, still going fast and still trading slide jobs and racing closely, but the lap time just probably won't quite be there.
And a real
Christian,
one.
It's Greg Rust here. It's 180 of what we were just doing at Daytona. Fantastic for you, mate. But I just love the notion of bringing all of these Kiwi racers from various different disciplines together, and to do something that is so important right now by racing and supporting these local businesses. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the business you're supporting tonight.
Yeah, as you say, it's a phenomenal cause, and Chris and Brendan and Sarah and Billy have. We've all come together to put this together with Barry and Louise Tomlinson. Obviously, it's great to have the Giltrap group on board as well. The concept sort of came together over the weekend, and it's just got bigger and bigger from here, and here we are sitting on a live stream. So tonight I'm racing for my favourite little coffee shop here in Palmerston North, Arosta. I know that the whole roster team's actually watching, so I actually better get into qualifying here at Knoxville, so hopefully I can win them some more money.
Go to it, mate. Go to it.
A big shout out to Roster Coffee and Roastery. That was Christian Hermansen, a 3-time New Zealand mini sprint champion. We're here at Knoxville, the home of the Nationals, and tonight it's the home of some of the top New Zealand motorsport drivers, as well as Rusty and Ryan Jones, myself, Steve Daniel. I'm excited for this one here. This is where I blooded myself in Speedway.
Most certainly, and I should point out too, when you buy the sprint car at iRacing, there's 3 different variations of it: the 305, the 360, and the 410. The 410 is a big main one. That's what they use in the World of Outlaws sprint car series. We're running the 360 here, a nice happy medium between rookie and advanced. Maybe a little bit easier for some of the newcomers to sprint car racing and speedway racing to get their eye in and not have a massive crash, because you can have massive crashes very easy on this racetrack, but it is still very, very fast out there. Lap times 15.9 currently the pole position time for Brayton Davison.
Just having a look, so showing in 4th position Hayden Guptill, I think. What's he on? That's
16.005.
16.6. Yeah, so Hayden Guptill is he's another Speedway man sitting in third place, and Xavier Simmons. Now he's an iRacing fan, but he's pit crews for the current New Zealand Super Saloon Car champion Sam Waddell. So Sam Waddell sitting in sixth position. So the Speedway guys, they certainly know how to go right to turn left at the moment.
Oh,
That didn't look good.
Blink and you miss it.
Exactly. Callum Hedge, 47th at the moment. Going to want to find an improvement on that. We're going to have 4 heats here, people. So the format for this is going to provide us with a lot of action. 4 heats, all with 15 drivers in them. They're 8 laps of length. Top 5 from each heat advance through to the feature. And then we head through to a C main and a B main. Eventually we'll get to the A main, the feature race. So 28 driver field for that one. There won't be any cautions in these heat races either.
So Callum Hedge out on track, 16.93 fastest lap. He's in 49th position, so struggling out there. Davison still up the front with a 15.93. Payne sitting in second place, 0.1 back. Bit of contact with the ball out there.
He ran that very close, didn't he? James Watson is up on his side, trying to do the old flick back onto his tyres. Don't think it's going to work for him.
Well, it's probably lucky that James Watson is Cream Insurance, so he's got a great insurance company behind him.
That is the best sponsor plug smoothest sponsor plug I've heard in a while there, Steve.
It's all about the segue.
Tom Blomqvist, is that a Minions livery? Looks like it. It is. Running around in 25th, coming across the stripe, 16.1 for him. But I believe he's already done both of his laps. So you only get 2 laps in qualifying. You can keep running around after it, but it won't count towards your lap time. It just helps to maybe get your eye in a little bit. And the track doesn't evolve in qualifying, but it does evolve over the race. It's going to change a lot today.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's going to slick up with that many big tyres. We talk about words like stagger. Stagger is the difference between the size of the inside tyre and the outside tyre. If you were to take a teacup and take the handle off and roll it around, you'd find that the car would naturally turn left, and that's what stagger is. That's the difference between up in front here. We see the tail tack on the right-hand side. The in normal action, when the car's not trying to go upside down and hit the fence, you'd be able to go and recall the rev times for that. So these cars here naturally weigh at 580 kgs. The wing puts well over a ton of downforce, 800 plus horsepower and a better power to weight ratio than a Formula One car. Essentially, if you could make one of these cars go upside down, they could stick to the roof.
And Steve, as you know, the throttle is your friend. You actually want to use that thing to help it go left. If you come off the gas in a bit of a panic, the first thing it wants to do is hook right, and you want to avoid that wall as much as possible. Nice work by Shane van Gisbergen, as we saw there a moment ago. I mean, he's a guy that's had experience behind the wheel of these things for real, and so too was Greg Murphy, for that matter. He and Stephen Richards are competing at the Sydney Speedway one night several years ago.
Well, these sprint cars are probably my favourite class. I've been part of a national championship winning, a New Zealand championship winning team as a pit crew member for a youngest ever person in New Zealand Speedway, Ben Finnimore. He's now living in Australia, and he's raced at Knoxville as well. He's been to Knoxville. I think he raced anyway, but we see who is going to lead the top of the grid as we see the numbers start to stack on the tree on the left-hand side.
Yep, that's
Finnimore's dad was actually a superkart racer in Australia too.
Yeah, Gary Finnimore certainly was.
Yeah.
So I was friends with Gary first, and he said, I've got this son, he's going to do well. Why don't you come over and crew for me? So I said, why not? And we certainly had a ball, won the New Zealand Championships at 15 years of age. The race finished after 10 o'clock in New Zealand. He couldn't have actually driven home at that stage there. He only had his learner's license.
There's a top 15 then that are in heat number 1. Oh, bit of contact at the back. Now you'll notice, of course, you need a push car to get started in sprint car racing. Drivers can start their car and drive by themselves here, but if you stop on the racetrack after this point now and turn your engine off, you won't get started again. This is the only allowance you get to start your car up without a push car.
Yeah, well, in the real world, they're direct drive, so they come straight off the back of the engine plate with a single bar, essentially, which is the drive shaft going into the back of the Winters diff. The Winters diff's got an in and out gear, which has a lever on the right-hand side of the cockpit. The drivers put the lever into the drive position. They push start the cars normally, wait till they get a little bit of pressure in the motor, and then they flick a switch that turns the magneto, creates a spark, and fires them up. The normal idling speed of a sprint car around 60 kilometers an hour.
think from World Rally Championship experience, Hayden Paddon might be pretty handy at this too. I think he's in the field.
Yes.
We're getting set to go racing. Legendary track, Knoxville, for Speedway fans that are watching the live stream coverage, doing it in a virtual sense. Racing local, supporting local Kiwi businesses and taking races that have come from all sorts of different disciplines. Just a short time ago, they were at Daytona Speedway in the United States. Now, we're on the dirt in 360 sprint cars, so we're getting people to step outside their comfort zone. It's week 1 of 4, and we're doing it to raise money and support some small to medium-sized Kiwi businesses that could do with it right now.
And the green flag in the hand of the starter, and it's out, and we're racing for Heat 1 at Knoxville. Finally going sprint car racing today, and a good jump for Brendon Partridge to put himself into second place there. Liam Lawson, not a great start on the outside of that front row. And he's at the front of both races then. Road racing and sprint racing doing very well. An incident further back, one car on the fence. With no cautions in these heat races, it's going to be a straight up scrap to the end.
Well, Braden Davidson leading the way. He's had 11 years experience out of Auckland, New Zealand, 5 seasons in a midget, campaigning a CRC Bullet by Spike out of Western Springs, and he's doing it all the right way at the moment with 0.4 of a second between himself and Liam Lawson. Davison posting another fast lap with a 16.0 as we start to wind it up with 6 to go.
Everyone down single file down the bottom of the racetrack then at the moment. Expect that line to change over the course of this evening at the moment. May even migrate up to the very top of the track. 6/10 of a second the margin between Brendon Davison and Liam Lawson. First and a second. Remember, the top 5 going to advance through the feature. Currently occupying 5th spot is Matthew Pluck. Scott McLaughlin hot on his heels in 6th place.
Is there anything Liam Lawson can't drive? Nice performance, 4 to go at the moment. Car looks tidy as well, and as you say, McLaughlin.
Well, riding on board Scotty Mack as he tries the inside line, firing it out of the museum section down here at Knoxville. See if he can run that inside line again. Almost contact. It was right front to left rear. Bit of a bobble up front and a drag race back down the frwn straight here.
He gets to the inside of Andrew Waite. He gets into him, and Waite's gone around. He's going to get collected and hard into the fence. Goes the number 27 on his side. He spins on a spin top and gets hit again. And then under all 4 tyres.
Oh, he's just lost the bonnet and off he goes again. Lost the front wing as well, so that'll certainly make it pretty light on the front end with no steering. Last lap here at Knoxville.
Tough night for Andrew Waite, the guy who we were talking about before at Daytona there, who's a driving instructor at Highlands on the South Island. We're watching Liam Lawson chasing Davison, and Davison, nice performance.
Very good.
A nice clean drive by Brayden Davison. Well. So, of course, he's used to driving on the dirt in the CRC midget at Western Springs Speedway in Auckland. So coming here to Knoxville certainly found it easy. So we've seen the dirt guys start to fly, but you can see some great names further up. Liam Lawson, one of them.
Yes, the top 5 from that heat that will advance are Davison, Lawson, Partridge, McLaughlin, and Pluck. They will go straight through the feature. Everyone else has to go into the C or the B main. Now look to the left-hand side of your screen for the 14-car grid here for heat number 2. Well, you said, what can't Liam Lawson do? What can't these two do? They're off the front row again. Matthew Payne, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Well, Payne for Van Gisbergen. Then we go to Northway. He's one of the iRacers as well. Levisage, he races a sprint car himself. He'll be starting in 4th place from the 3 times New Zealand mini sprint champion Christian Hermansen sitting in 5th. Evans in 6th from Watson. Then we go back to Leitch, Anderson, Middlehall, Harker, Stevens, Pilcher, and Cockerton. That's the top 14 for this race. We can see them lined up behind the pace unit.
Each heat going to be exactly the same for these drivers. 8 laps, 5 advanced. And you've got to make sure you get that advancing position, because if you end up on the C main, it's a long route through to the A main from that point on.
Well, there's no Donny Shots in the house tonight, and he's the only person that you'd see make the rise from the C main up to the A main, so I guess we'll wait and see what happens for this next race. They're in the pace process, going to get ready to set them loose.
2 laps behind the pace car. When you come out of the pits on a short track or a dirt track like this, dirt racing was introduced to iRacing in March of 2017, when it was a hugely popular edition. Knoxville was introduced into the service later that year, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the pit complex is on the outside of the track in real life, and as you can see there, it is not in iRacing. At the time,
No, it's on the inside.
It's on the
so
inside.
it depends.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on the outside for the Knoxville Nationals. It's on the inside for everything else. So the Nationals having over 160 cars normally entering, they have it on the outside. But if it's for just a normal race, they can have, I think, about 120 haulers on the inside.
I was looking at pics for the Knoxville Nationals. That's my defence.
Yeah, there's one pic that you can see with about 200 trailers parked all out where you can see them right now. We're going to set them loose. The 97 on the outside will set the pace. Shane van Gisbergen, what can he do?
It'll be pretty handy here, guys. Watch Van Gisbergen. Has driven them for real. Spends a lot of time in the iRacing world and straight into it in the 97. Nice job. Payne, who's been great even before we went racing this evening for the first time in some of the heats in the lead-up. A guy who's pretty handy in a go-kart. He's shadowing him. Staying with Van Gisbergen right now.
Behind them in third place is Christian Hermansen and Jaxon Evans, the Porsche Super Cup racer, going right on with him for fourth place. Brendon Leitch currently occupying the final transfer spot out there on the track. I think Robert Northway is up in there somewhere. They're having a few issues because I can't see him. And there is contact indeed.
Leitch, was it?
It was either Leitch or Watson making contact. I think it was Leitch. And drops back a couple of paces, sets the car back up again, I think. You can see a couple of cars running on the other side of the cushion there as we ride on board watching Shane van Gisbergen goes to the inside line. Slight contact on the nudge bar, and he goes for the outside as Payne, but van Gisbergen holds it off, running the inside. It's the shortest way around the track, and you can see the rear of the car just sliding up inside as they fire it back down into turns number 1 and 2.
He's wised up here, Steve, hasn't he? He realises that the grip that Payne was going for on the slightly higher line was giving Payne an advantage. So Van Gisbergen's tried to shut that down now. Payne doing a really good job of this at present as he continues to harass Van Gisbergen.
He is right there with him, but he can't find a way by them. They're wide open at the moment. There's no more throttle to give to these machines, these 360 sprint cars here in iRacing at the virtual Knoxville Raceway. As they come across, it'll be 2 laps to go.
And you can see
and
Payne.
They should be comfortably advancing.
Payne's got his right rear right on the cushion. That's the dark stuff out. They form a slight cushion there, and you can rail it down. He's got a bit of grip, and you can see he's now changed his line, try the inside this time, but Shane van Gisbergen's having nothing of them. There's no mirrors on a sprint car. Van Gisbergen just riding from the front.
White flag then for these drivers. They'll come through 3 and 4. Watch out for that slower car in front of Nathan Pilcher. Going to hold up Van Gisbergen, but not quite enough. He'll take out heat number 2. Books a spot in the A main ahead of Matthew Payne in second. The other 3 drivers booking an advancement will be Hermansen, Evans and Watson.
Issues for Levisic. He's a sprint car driver. He's down with 8 to go in 14th place, but a great drive up front. Shane van Gisbergen showing his style. Nice to see Christian Hermansen, though, the 3 times New Zealand's mini sprint champion, coming through and finishing in 3rd for the Speedway guys.
We're seeing a couple of guys that are well-rounded here, not just in terms of what they do when they get behind the wheel for real, but also in the world of iRacing, aren't they? They're proving really, really adept. So Guptill's a guy that, as you said before, is in terms of Speedway experience, he'll be really good in this one.
Yeah, Hayden Guptill, he's certainly raced a lot. He's raced in multiple different tracks, and he's raced in different types of cars as well. He's driving the midgets at the moment, which are essentially the same as this without the front wing and the top wing, and they essentially run half an engine to a 410 sprint car, I suppose is the easiest way to put it. He's in a bullet chassis by Spike normally, but this time here we're going to chuck some wings on the front and top. In normal world, they can actually change the distance forward and back of that wing. So as the fuel runs out, because they run methanol normally, and sometimes up to 120 litres of fuel for a long race, as the fuel gets used up during the race, they'll actually move the wing back so they can get a little bit more weight on the rear end of that car and assist them into the turn.
They can do that right here in iRacing as well. Even with a fixed setup, you're allowed to adjust the wing because, as you mentioned, as the fuel runs out, you need to do it almost to keep the balance of the car. So you'll see those wings moving back and forth, especially so in the feature event, the A main, just up after the next couple of heats. So do watch out for that. Another thing is You get very muddy and dirty when you go racing in real life at a dirt track. You don't quite have that same effect in iRacing, thank goodness, for laundry people not a fan of laundry. But you do have mud and dirt flicking up onto your visor. As long as you have a button set for the tear-offs, you're good to go. You got unlimited tear-offs. But if you forget a button to set, you're in a world of hurt because you won't be able to see much by the time you get to the checkered flag. Green flag going to come out here, though.
Set to go racing, Knoxville. Until we've been talking about him. Steve, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's got some experience in TQs as well. A great little class of racing. I saw them at the Miami Speedway a couple of times over summer. So Hayden Guptill doing a nice job in car 2.
Well, Hayden Guptill is a great driver. He did start off in the quarter midgets, and his father has been the man in the centre who's looked after every driver for many, many years. Tonight, Hayden Guptill doing a great job from the front in the sprint car and upside down. 1, 2, 3 cars. Not good. Drever now showing at the front. Big crash.
Now, Guptill involved in that massive incident there, and that puts him way down the order. I don't even know what happened there.
I need to see a replay, guys. I reckon that was a lapped car potentially. So I don't know quite what unfolded there. The net result is Andre Heimgartner at the moment up to P2.
And Sam Waddell, the fastest. He is a New Zealand champ. There's more contact further back. Waddell not on that one there, so we can see that was, I think it was Dossett that got involved in that one there.
Matthew Griffin and Nelson Hartley were stranded on that side on the racetrack, and unfortunately Guptill came up to them and had nowhere to go. It also collected Sam Waddell, and then you'll see the other replay here of another incident that just unfolded. This was Tim Dossett. The top side of the racetrack through 1 and 2. Car down low, nowhere to go. Into the fence and collected by one of the other drivers up there too, and very awkward spot. Had to take the toe back to pit lane. Up at P2 though, guess who's showing up tonight? Andre Heimgartner. Didn't do too well on the radical, but here in the dirt, he's up in the second spot on the track, doing very nicely.
Well, leading the way right now though is Sam Waddell, little Sam Waddell. He won the New Zealand Championship. Speedway, and this time he's leading from the front in the sprint cars. Absolutely flying in the 18 car. 18's the car he normally runs. Super Saloon. It is the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Knoxville. Sam Waddell doing it all the right way up the front in the Hadley Group car.
Looks smooth, Steve, with an advantage of nearly 0.8 of a second, and will take it out from Heimgartner.
And tries
Very stuff as we wind down. But nice performance by Andre Heimgartner, you'd have to say, who's made quite an impression at the Adelaide 500 for real at the beginning of the temporarily suspended Supercar season. He's been just as good, just as handy in the Supercars eSeries as well.
Most certainly has. This brings us to our final heat of the event before we get into the mains. This is heat number 4, and that is how they line up on the left-hand side of your screen there. Xavier Simmons, Brendon Hartley on that front row. Going to be fun to see how Hartley goes. Dunstall, Simon Evans behind him, and Tom Alexander, John T. Austin. Very good field of this one. Chris Vanderdrift and Marcus Armstrong towards the back of this one too. And Nicholas Cassidy up there in 7th place.
Marcus Armstrong from the back of the field. It just shows what a different discipline this is to open wheel racing in Europe. He'll be strong in 2020 once racing resumes over there, but fantastic to have him a part of this and to be a part of this initiative. Set for this heat to get underway. Lots of good comments too on Facebook, on the Racing Local Facebook page. Lots of chat by you guys who are watching, and girls for that matter, who are watching the live stream. Thank you very much for joining us and joining the drivers as they support small to medium-sized Kiwi businesses who can do with that support.
Contact already
at the
before
moment.
the race has started.
What happened back there?
It's like one
Someone's got a bit antsy under the pace car.
Looks like Xavier Simmons on the inside of the front row.
We'll go racing then for heat number 4, despite that, whatever that was, at the back of the field. It'll be Hartley and Simmons on the front row. And not sure the background of Xavier Simmons, but I know Brendon Hartley's got a lot of road racing experience and dirt. Well, let's see how he goes.
Well, as we come out of turn number 4, we get ready to drop the green flag. And we are off. It will be Xavier Simmons who leads the way. He normally cruises a pit crew driver when he's not sim racing for Sam Waddell. Sam Waddell winning the last heat. So Xavier Simmons certainly knows his way around a speedway track. He's got a 0.4 of a second gap between himself and Dunstall now. Dunstall making the outside pass on Evans as they make their way down to chalk out the first lap of the race. It's 8 to go. It'll be 7 as Simmons crosses the start-finish line. Dunstall still sitting in second position from Evans in third and Hartley in fourth.
Steve, look at that high line, the way they're running up toward the cushion there. That's where the grip is, the speed is at the moment.
Yeah, you certainly want to plant your right rear tyre.
Trying to pull that slide job, gets hit on the right rear, almost up into the fence, loses out for his troubles, goes behind Jonty Austin. Remember in Heat 1, they were all running down the bottom of the racetrack. Told you it would evolve, now the line's got up to the top.
Well, Dunstall, the fastest lap of the race just before. He's still 0.5 of a second of a gap between himself and first place at Xavier Simmons. Simmons doing a great job up front. You can see the 99 of Evans battling well with Austin. Austin trying the inside pass as they come out of the final turn. We'll see if he can diamond off, but no, it'll still be the 99 of Evans. But this time tries to slide a contact made. Both drivers out of there.
Hartley had to really check up, and now look out. The reigning Symbiote champion Tom Alexander round to the top side. Trying to take away the final transfer spot. Gets to the right rear of Hartley. They get locked together and somehow they don't wreck.
The 99 brushed the wall then.
Evans certainly having a lot of fun out there as we see the inside slider of the 20 of Alexander. He drops back. Hartley in front again.
And Evans just drove a little bit down the left-hand side of the front straight there to try to cover off Jonty Austin, but he got to his inside, but he couldn't complete the move. Hartley still occupying that final transfer spot. They'll come across, they'll see the white flag at the bottom of the lap. It's going to be a wild final lap here at Knoxville. It's comfortable for Simmons and Dunstall, but it's crazy behind them. They're almost 4 abreast, and getting wrecked was, I believe that was Jonty Austin who got exited out of the back of that group. Simmons will take the win out front, as behind the top 5 will be sorted. And at the end of it all, it'll be Dunstan, Evans, Hartley, and Cassidy takes P5.
That was a heck of a battle for that final transfer slot. It looked for a moment like Alexander was going to get in there, but I think he's just missed out.
Well, Xavier Simmons, the first of the iRacer entries that have actually taken a win tonight, if I'm correct. So a fantastic drive out of Tauranga, New Zealand. As I mentioned, he normally cruised for Sam Waddell. Sam Waddell driving in the win in the previous race. So he certainly knows what the team boss does. He's gone and emulated that. Great job for Simmons.
So we'll get our C mains and our mains underway now. C main, 12 laps long. The top 4 advance through to the feature. On the pole is Formula E racer Mitch Evans. He'll have Hayden Guptill alongside after Guptill's extreme misfortune in his heat. Look out for him to have some very strong pace in this one.
Well, they're lined up on the in-road, ready to fire up behind the pace ute. As Ryan mentions, it's Evans and Guptill on the front row. From there, we go back to Wood and Drever. Stewart, 2 Stewarts in 5th and 6th place from Hedge and Allen. Blomqvist and Parkinson in 9th and 10th place from Midgley and Griffin. Knowles, Hartley, Waite, Mallard and Leversedge in 17th position. This is a C main. Ryan, how many cars are going through into the B from this race here?
Don't ask me that question. I don't know the answer to that question. You know,
is it an advancement race?
The feature. I believe 4 go through.
So in normal situations, the 4 cars that have won these races will come off the back of the B main. So we've got the C main now, and then we'll go to the B main, have the massive A main feature to round off the night. So what we're expecting to see is the top 4 cars out of this race here move to the back of the B main, which will be straight after this race here. And if they can go all the way through, they will finally make the A main. They're behind the pace ute. We're getting ready to push to the infield, and we will set the track alight. It'll be SCP up front. We've got the 44 on the inside. It's 8 laps. Oh, no, how many laps? Sorry, it's the C main.
It's 12 laps.
12 laps. 12 laps.
12 laps, yeah. Will be interesting then to see what happens there, because the information we've given as they advance in the feature, but I think you are right. We might actually see them in the back of the B main, which is the regs for real life, of course, in sprint car racing. But let's see what happens. Either way, you've got to be in those top 4 spots, no matter where it puts you, to get a chance to progress in the evening. Everyone else can pack their bags and go home.
The event schedule does say through to the feature, but I reckon you boys are right. It would think logically that we would go B main, you'd advance to, and then if, you know, hopefully try and get a spot in the main if you were able to. So we're set to go racing here now. C main
is green. Great jump for Hayden Guptill to take it away from Mitch Evans. Ben Drever slots into third ahead of Ryan Wood and Ben Stewart. Then they really start to battle away behind them. There was a big jump from Callum Hedge. He picked up about 4 spots down that main straightaway once that green flag flew, and he sits now up there in 7th as Blomqvist goes through a slider there on Ben Stewart for 5th place. And now he's going to pull the same move on Ryan Wood, making his way forward as Blomqvist.
Well, tries the outside pass. You can see one car getting very out of shape. Bit of a tank slap coming down, but we've got 3 cars battling for 3rd place. Guptill leading the fastest lap at the moment with a 16.89. The midget driver out of Western Springs Speedway in Auckland. It was Drever we're riding on board. He's just taken the pass off. He's just been passed by Evans for 2nd position. Guptill still leads at the front. We're watching Evans out there on track, really running high. You can see the darker conditions of the track as the cushion starts to get pushed further and further out wide. And by the A main time, there'll be nothing left, and it's going to be slide job central here at the Knoxville circuit as we go past the National Speedway Museum. These cars flying with Guptill leading away.
Steve, don't forget too, there are spot prizes tonight for things like best overtakes, hard charger, hard luck award, but there's also one for best livery. You'd have to say he's leading the race right now. Hayden Guptill's car is a very sweet looking machine.
Yeah, running the STP. The Minions were pretty cool. I saw the CRC car earlier on, which actually mirrored the normal car, less the wings, of course. But Guptill, 6 to go. It's a long race here, C main. He's going to try and make his way through, and it's going to be one heck of a fight if he's going to do it.
Look at Drever, though, trying to make that bottom lane work behind Mitch Evans. Hasn't quite made it work for himself yet. As we ride on board with Drever, then down on the low side, you see him just flick up and over that down the middle of the racetrack. He gets alongside on the inside of him. They'll go for a drag race down the straightaway, and Drever emerges. Still was inside and now gets by him. Evans back into 3rd. Going to go for big slide job back on and by him. Pulls up in front. Drever looking for the crossover.
And you see the beautiful swap as they come back down. But no, it's going to be the 44 of Evans that holds on. Time here for the slider. Goes inside. Will push out wide. We'll see if Evans... No, he holds position. Almost comes to guts with the wall. But running the high line again. Here comes Drever.
There goes Drever then, going on back by him, but it's not over with yet. Evans still trying to take it back away. And as they do this, a lot of Blomqvist can start to reel them in. He rocketed up into 4th place off the start. Hasn't made much progress since then as Evans gets himself back in front of Drever. Fantastic battle here for 2nd place behind Hayden Guptill, the race leader. Running 2 different lines again. Evans slow out of the corner that time. They offer up a sliding opportunity for Drever as Evans tries to cover it off, and there's contact between them.
Well, tries to switch positions, but it will be the 5 of Drever that is sitting in 2nd place right now. He's almost a second behind as we see the fight back from Evans.
Beautiful.
And Evans feeds him a right rear, chucks him into the concrete and upside down for Drever. Evans takes position, but will not be a happy man, dropping down the leaderboard now. And that will see the race win to Hayden Guptill. Great drive by Hayden.
So well, Drever crossed the line in 4th. No way. He picks up 4th despite being on his lid as he crossed the finish line. How lucky is that man? He will just about find the advancement through to the A main. So they've all advanced through the A main straight away.
All right, so they're obviously advancing through the A main. I guess if they, I don't know, we'll see if they're coming off the back, off the middle, who knows? But it's another race up here looking for some speedway names. Jaxon Evans in the 32. He races out of the Bolton Racing Stables from from Christchurch. Races out of Woodford Glen Speedway in the Super Saloons. Who else is there from the Speedway world? Well, he's Hayden Paddon right at the back. He's not from the Speedway world, but he's certainly used to going fast sideways on dirt.
There you go. I think you might have just seen in the top right of your corner for a blink and a miss at moment there. The wing going back for one of those drivers. Proof that it happens here on the dirt. And I believe when you go on board through the cockpit cam with some of the drivers, you actually see the dirt they've got on their visor as they're seeing it. If they haven't torn off a visor for a while, you'll know that from the camera. Luckily, they're just heading out now, so they're all squeaky clean. But check in by the end of the race, and I think you'll find out who forgot to set the tear-off button. Or not. In the Finksy race, that can be a really big issue. And even when you do have the button set, trying to actually hit that button while you're like 3 or 4 wide through the corner is not comfortable.
At a normal race, if it's a really wet, heavy track underfoot, you normally run anything up to around 15 tear-offs. As you go into feature time, if it's a 30-lapper, probably about 8, especially in the big wheel classes, because you know that the track has essentially gone dry. So it's the wet clay or the wet dirt that's actually flicking up and throwing onto your visor that's going to cost you. So as we get onto the night, the moisture's gone away, it turns to slick, and I think that's what we're going to see as we see the next 2 races, the final 2 races of the night.
This is the last chance for anyone who hasn't already booked a spot to book that spot into the A main, the main event. There's 18 drivers vying for that spot here. Brendon Leitch and Tom Alexander off the front rows. We come to the green flag for the B main here at Knoxville Raceway. Racing Local is green once again, and a great launch for Brendon Leitch and Tom Alexander. Oh, that was Andrew Anderson getting very sideways in the background of the shot in the middle of 3 wide now with Jaxon Lovelady to his outside. Now he's 3 wide, but Taylor Cockerton through the middle. These boys dicing hard for the final spots to transfer.
Alexander's fast, isn't he? Tom Alexander, Ute racer, successful in 2019, proving pretty handy in this at the moment too.
Yeah. Doing a very good job. This is that battle for the final transfer spot. Anderson loses it on the slick, gets all out of shape and loses his golden ticket to the A main. He goes back to about 9th or 10th.
Yeah, Anderson dropped all the way back down now to 11th. He's going to go back to 12th as Leitch still leads away up front from Alexander, Williams and Jaxon Lovelady in the 32 car sitting in 4th place. Oh, another car with a massive tank slap coming out of turn number 4 across the front straight. It's certainly getting lighter underfoot. You can see the track is starting to move up. The cushion's almost gone. It certainly will be the fastest lap of the race. Jonty Austin with a 17.15. It's about a second slower than what we saw at the start.
Oh, Leitch, he almost lost it off the head of the field there. You see how sideways he was through the corner. And as a result, Tom Alexander is going to slide on by him, but Leitch going to come right back at him. They're dicing with the race lead, and Leitch is struggling on that slick.
You can see the inside line for the 817 on the side, but it's actually the 32 car of Lovelady. Quickly to back into 4th because you can see the sliders happening out of track. Running the same paint scheme that he runs on the Super Saloon. That's what confused me a little bit earlier on. Oh, another car that looked like he might play a part of the race up front, but it will be Leitch and Alexander still doing the thing. You can see them crossing over for the 22.
Give a quick shout out too to young Marco Giltrap, just down in 11th place, not quite in the top 10 at the moment. A Carter, who I saw compete at Hawke's Bay last year, and of course our founding sponsor is the Giltrap Group. They've joined us for all 4 weeks of the competition, and we greatly appreciate that.
A big shout out to Marco's dad Richard, and of course to Sir Colin. Jonty Austin has gone faster again in the 52 car, 17.099 fastest lap as we see a change for the lead with 4 to go.
Leitch goes back out and almost wipes himself out on the fence on the outside, and Alexander comes right back. These boys cannot decide who's going to win this race as again Leitch on that slick gets all out of shape. And look out for the man who put the fastest lap down a couple laps ago. Jonty Austin comes by on the inside, up into P2 for Austin now.
Well, really starting to work that outside line. And we'll see it get even, well, it's gone. The track is starting to go dead, and we're going to see it go that way for the A main. And we've seen a change again. So it's like Alexander, Austin, Leitch, Cockerton, Harker. That's the top 5.
Leitch to the inside, almost on the back of Alexander as he did that. Forces Austin trying to go for the crossover, didn't work out, and Alexander all by himself out front is going to take a very comfortable win here in the B main in the end, with Leitch in second and coming across in third with Jonty Austin, final man advancing through to the A main, Taylor Cockerton.
Drivers are all supporting different Kiwi businesses. We've been telling you that a number of times throughout the coverage here this evening. And of course, for Tom Alexander, the Sugar Shed, Pukekohe, that he's nominated to get behind this evening. But it is all about the build-up now, boys, to the A main.
A 2-minute warm-up before we get there. The A main will be 30 laps in length. If a caution or a safety car is needed, it will be thrown. Caution laps do count, however, so it does chew through your green flag racing. It will only be used if absolutely necessary. The admins and race control have the ability to throw it when they deem that to be an issue. We will have the grid for you too before we get this one underway. In fact, let's run through the grid then and have a look at how they're going to light up. We'll wait a little bit. As our producer yells in our ears that he hasn't got it ready yet. Because we're going to wait for the server to tick over here to the feature, but it's going to be a wild race here, boys.
Look, it certainly is, especially at Knoxville Nationals. I've been looking forward to this all week, seeing these drivers out there on the dirt as we see another car overrun further back in practice. So it'll be a fun race. It's great to see that some of these the Speedway boys and girls out there have made their way further up, because I think of them are a bit worried on the road circuit tracks. I know that Sam Waddell didn't have the greatest, but good to see the likes of Waddell and a few of those other ones making their good moves forward into the A main.
If you've just joined us, Steve Daniel and Ryan Jones, Greg Russ with you on the Global Sim Racing channel, ESRC, and we are getting set for the final for 360 Sprint Car action. It's been a wonderful night racing local, and we're about to take you very shortly through what the lineup will look like. So here you go. Row 1, Brayden Davison alongside Shane Van Gisbergen. Sam Waddell, who was terrific in one of the earlier heats alongside Xavier there. Liam Lawson, he's had a very good night, whether it was at Daytona or here so far. Matthew Payne, he's a real star in go-karting as well. Andre Heimgartner, who races typically for the Kelly Racing team, a proud Kiwi. He'll start from position number 7. And Christian Hermansen, who we were talking to a little earlier, on the 5th row.
Just behind them will be Jaden Ransley and Simon Evans, other very talented row. Scott McLaughlin will be off unlucky for some, P13 for this one. Super Cup racer Jaxon Evans alongside him. Brendon Hartley back there in 16th place. Nicholas Cassidy from 20th. The very talented field that we have. The field has been whittled down 28 of the best here at Knoxville.
Well, from here we move to row number 11. It'll be Hayden Guptill on the inside with Tom Alexander on the side of him. From there we move back to row 12, Mitch Evans and Brendon Leitch. Tom Blomqvist on row 13 with Jonty Austin, and then Ben Drever will line up next to Taylor Cockerton in the 28th spot. That is your grid for the A main here at the Knoxville racetrack here in Idaho. Looking forward to getting the green flag drop. Some quality racing out here. It's going to be slide jobs central, Ryan.
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar it is. Look at that track. Look at the slick that takes up almost every little bit of racing surface. Just a few tacky bits of racetrack left, but they're few and far between. It's going to be a wild ride for these drivers. You saw how much some of the drivers in Heat 4 were struggling to keep their cars pointed relatively straight, getting all sorts of out of shape in the tank slapper on as we come to the green flag of the A main, racing local for local businesses, supporting everyone across New Zealand who's been affected by the times of recent events. As we come to the green flag, it flies. We go racing here on the A main in Knoxville. Great jump to Brayden Davison. Sam Waddell's trying to take it away from Shane Van Gisbergen down to the low side, but right up top for 97. Very powerful.
And that is Shane Van Gisbergen. Liam Lawson taking the pass and second place. He'll hold on to it. Contact between himself.
Oh, no, big! How did they not end up on that inside fence, boys? That was heart rate. Oh, man, that had the heart
Not
racing.
behind him. Big crash there. Up into the fence. 2 cars up and over, going for a wild ride. The caution will come out. And it wasn't Van Gisbergen and Lawson, but it was 2 more that went for a crazy crash. Take a look at our replay here. It was Andre Heimgartner. Looks like the unfortunate victim of this. What a wild moment for Van Gisbergen and Lawson. It checked up someone else. And Heimgartner was the just complete blindsided there up into the fence.
So you see the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in there. If you're a New Zealand fan, you're actually over at Knoxville. If you go there, Willie Kay, the Speedway manager of Bay Park, many years ago, actually made a Hall of Fame for the New Zealand drivers, and you can actually see every New Zealand Sprint Car champion that's ever won the Sprint Car Championship here in New Zealand.
And Steve, we're getting lots of comments from the Speedway fraternity on the Racing Local Facebook page. So a big shout out to all of you from around the country. There's a very proud, very passionate group of people that love their Speedway here in New Zealand.
Yeah, 27 Speedway New Zealand tracks here in New Zealand, as well as the other tracks, the ones that we'd refer to as black tracks. There's probably the same number of those. So a huge amount of people enjoying the dirt in New Zealand. 100,000 fans. Speedway tracks throughout New Zealand every Saturday night in the summer, and great to see so many of them here. Lap 2 of 30 Knoxville sprint cars.
We should be getting a double file restart here, fellas, for this one. Can opt to go either double file or single file for these restarts here in iRacing. Just trying to have a look at the pace car. Lights are out, so 1 to go. It looks like we might actually be having a single file restart here.
Well, it's Indian file. It's the 6 of Braden Davison. He races out of Spring Speedway. He's got Shane Van Gisbergen, a person who started in Speedway and quarter midgets, and Sam Waddell, the current New Zealand Super Saloon Car Championship. So although Van Gisbergen's, we're used to seeing him in the V8 Supercar along with many other cars, he's au fait at best on the dirt, and we're going to see it out here tonight.
As we go back to the green flag, led by Brayton Davison. What a jump for him. Van Gisbergen having to defend from Sam Waddell. Matthew Payne all the way down to the bottom side of the track, trying to make it work down low, and it is working down low. Look at the speed he's got underneath the slick is where he's got, and he's wheeling down the bottom.
Well, he's certainly found drive, and if any other drivers see that, you might see a change out there as he gets massive grip and comes down the inside line. Matthew Payne, 16.9, fastest lap of the race.
And now Van Gisbergen's clued on, and he's trying to go down there too. But he's just a little bit higher than Payne, so it's not quite working for him. He's got to get that right rear out of the slick, because that's what Payne's doing perfectly. As now he takes it away from Brayton Davison and into the lead of the race. Try to move up, but Davison with the momentum up high, taking it back away. Now look out for the 97. Caution's going to come out. Might have been an incident for Cockett further back in the field. Very sideways up on the slick. This is Tom Alexander, in fact. So, was it him? Oh, there's Cockett just in front of him. Up against the fence. Into the slick. Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just a check up in front and he had nowhere to go.
Perspective now. He's supporting Cafe Chaos in Pukekohe this evening, and it was a bit of a chaotic end there, wasn't it? So
now I should point out too, I made a note earlier that caution laps do count, but I'm gonna have to eat my own words there, because as you'll see, we're still only at 5, so they're not counting today, which is fantastic. iRacing implemented the caution laps do not count feature. I don't know what else to call it, really. A few months ago, it didn't quite work out. They took it back out, and it was only very recently it got put back in the service, and it's good to see it's working a treat here today, giving us all the green flag flaps we want.
Ryan, just a quick opportunity to mention about the fact that all money raised from both entry fees and sponsorship goes on a Give a Little page, and then it is distributed, of course, to SOS, the SOSbusiness.nz guys who are then distributing it to all of the businesses that the drivers are racing for. And incidentally, you can go to that Give a Little page, givealittle.co.nz/cause/racing-local. So let's get behind it as we get set to go racing.
We were going to go racing that time, and very late, the caution was delayed. Pace car will tour through pit road, come right back out where it was at the head of the field. We'll go for one more lap around this field and this racetrack at Knoxville. Matthew Payne off to try again for that restart here. Taking us on to lap 6 of 30 for this one. In front of a bumper crowd of virtual fans and a bumper crowd of real fans tuning in from home as well across YouTube and Facebook. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for tipping us over 10,000 subscribers on YouTube on the Global Sim Racing channel. We're going to go back Greater Knoxville. And Matthew Payne takes us across the stripe. Brayton Davison going to chase him across in second. Van Gisbergen and Liam Lawson lined up third and fourth as now they try to choose what line they want. Van Gisbergen up top behind Davison. Payne still working on that low line.
And here comes Liam Lawson trying to get in on the battle as well. Davison trying to run the natural line, but still huge amounts of grip down low. That is going to end sometime during the race. We're only laps 7 of 30 at the moment, but Payne doing a great job up front. 0.4 of a second gap between himself and Davison.
Still trying to work the high line. Davison behind Van Gisbergen, Lawson and Waddell as well. Running through the middle of the slip there, Van Gisbergen and Lawson on the entry into the corner. See if it works out for them. As now Davison starting to run down Payne at the front. Payne's starting to migrate off the bottom. And Davison is coming. He has closed him right down now for the lead of this race as they both go to the low side through the corner and sliding up to the top of the track through the middle, looking for the strong exit.
As he right on board with Davison, a great job up front. So Payne leads the way. Davison in second. Van Gisbergen. We've got a third of the race done, and the yellow
on
flags
caution,
come out. We're on caution.
You can tell from the yellow GSRC graphic up in the top left, it changes from red to yellow when a caution comes out. It was Blomqvist that had an issue in the Minion machine. Muzz Motorsport have come together, and around he went in front of the field. 99 and the 36, I believe that is, with a big issue. Onboard shot here from Blomqvist as his space got shut down dramatically and he had nowhere to go and pops it up and over the little rise on the inside there and gets it pointed, but a bit of damage to the front of his car. Steve, as the track goes on here, you've got a lot of experience yourself at commentating these speedway events. What does it take to try and make the line work that you want to work? Obviously, the track is evolving, and obviously the bottom that Payne was making work so well is going to start to go away from him. How does he try to get it back? Will it come back for him?
Now, once it's gone, especially when you come into an A-main like this. Once that moisture is gone, because the big wheels, they soak it out of the moisture out of the track and it will be gone. So it means that every car's got to chuck the right rear on as far up the wall as they possibly can. You can see on the shot here, there's a little bit of dark stuff up on the top of the track, and that's where you want to put your right rear tire because that's going to be the fastest way around the track. We talk about bouncing cushions. You want to form a cushion on the outside of it with your right rear tire, and that cushion should move out during the race. And you work as a team, it makes you faster and faster, and you can set yourself up for the slide job.
Well, there you go. We're going to see plenty of those slide jobs, aren't we? And
only a third of the way through, guys, too. We've still got a way to go in this A-main. We have had a fabulous first night of racing local. We go green once again. You can see that on the GSRC graphic. Lap 10 of 30. And Payne by just 0.4 from Davison. Shane Van Gisbergen, Supercars champion.
From there we move
Liam
back
Lawson
to
in position number 4.
And then you've got Sam Waddell sitting in 5th place from McLaughlin. McLaughlin making his way up into 6th place in the A-main feature here in Knoxville.
Caution's going to come out once again. McLaughlin's up from 13th place up into 6th, so he's done a pretty good job of progressing through the field and despite the drama around him. It was Simon Evans that ran into issues this time. just lost it all by himself. The caution flew for another Muzz Motorsport driver. They're not having a fantastic time of it up there in the field. There's still a couple at the front though, and Van Gisbergen. And, although no, Blomqvist has dropped back, haven't they? So they're not having a great race, are they, with the exception of Van Gisbergen?
I tic-tacked a little bit today with Scotty McLaughlin in the lead-up to this one. We talked earlier in the coverage about the fact that he's had some 9 years of experience when it comes to... Hit to him, hey, have you ever driven a sprint car or a Radical for real? They were the 2 cars we featured in week 1 of Racing Local. The Radicals, of course, at Daytona on the course that you're used to seeing them compete at for the Daytona 24-hour, and here, of course, at Knoxville rather, in the 360 sprint cars. He said, "No, I've never driven either." But you know, he's a dab hand when it comes to iRacing, don't you?
He is. He's one of the best. When he turns up, he commits fully and does extremely well. We've seen it not only the Supercars eSeries, but the IndyCar Challenge as well. He's taken it to those pro drivers from the IndyCar NTT IndyCar Series in real life, and he's running very well in the championship too. He had the opportunity to lead it, and he's not been taken out by a lapped car. Indeed, it's been super impressive, blowing people away. You know, he's got talent in real life as well. Hops into IndyCar in real life, and he was fast. Anything he drives, he is quick in. We've seen it many a times across various series in the sim, and not surprised at all to see him working his way up the order after taking what it took him a heat and 5 laps to adjust, and now he's up inside the top 10.
Had a zero tolerance policy as far as driving is concerned. They wanted people to do the right thing. By and large, guys, we've had a really good night of racing, haven't we? Everyone's been pretty good.
Well, it's been clean racing. We've certainly seen the tangles, but rubbing's racing. That's what we're going to see. As the pace vehicle gets to the infield and we get ready to go green again, it's lap 11 of 30. And it will be Payne that leads away. Davison's running in second place from Van Gisbergen. Van Gisbergen running the outside line. Liam Lawson trying to tuck in underneath. And here comes Sam Waddell.
Payne still trying to work that low line, eking all the life out of it while he still can. But still, they've got to start using the top of the track now, as we'll get another caution, another incident further back, and we'll be thankful these caution laps aren't counting, because we may have finished this race on the caution had we had this feature.
Simon Evans? We're just trying to clarify that for
Evans,
you.
yeah. Has he gone around again? Oh, just came down and got into someone in a big incident. That's going to be a race done for him. Oh, and collected for good measure too.
He got himself going again. It's always nice to land on your feet in a sprint car.
Yeah.
Racing in the Jaguar I-Pace series, Simon Evans, and Mitch, of course, racing for Jaguar in Formula E. Simon's done some great things on the domestic scene here in New Zealand in terms of New Zealand touring car racing.
Yeah, former New Zealand touring car champion in New Zealand touring car champion, started in Kartsport New Zealand, sitting in second in the I-Pace E-Trophy this year, the first production-based E-Series. Of course, the son of Owen Evans, the man who's, I think, the fastest crash in New Zealand, survivable crash in New Zealand, he was titled with when he had the massive land speed attempt many, many years ago. And that land speed record only just been eclipsed in the last few months down at Ohakea Air Base.
He's a good man, very passionate about racing that his sons do, and he opened up a bit about that very, very recently, just how scary that whole moment was. So, waiting for a restart here. We're not quite at the halfway mark. If you've just joined us, this is the A main for 360 Sprint Cars, racing local, supporting local Kiwi businesses to help them get back on their feet with some good sponsorship, and also just shining a bit of a light on those that need the support during this COVID-19 crisis. So best way to do it, we've kind of swapped hats really. Some races that have over time perhaps benefited from lots of local businesses when they were emerging stars. Well, they're not racing at the moment. So what can we do? We can go in the virtual world and race, give back and support these local businesses. Great initiative by the likes of Brendon Hartley and Chris Vanderdrift and more, who've gotten right into making this a reality during the 4-week lockdown period that we've had. And it's really kind of hit the gas pedal all come together this week in a big way. I got the phone call on Wednesday to say, do you want to do it? I've never done iRacing commentary ever, and it's been a delight to be a part of it, boys.
Been great to have you here on the Global Sim Racing channel, and you as well, Steve. Good to bring some professionalism into the booth alongside of myself, and being a pleasure to be a part of this. And all the work behind the scenes is not going to go unnoticed by everyone watching at home as we go back to the green flag on lap 14 of this event.
Well, back to the front again. It's the Payne train with Davison sitting in great battle for third place with the 97 of Van Gisbergen. He's actually been, no, he hasn't, sorry, the 57. Van Gisbergen, Lawson battling hard and trying to get on the back end of that car up in second position, Davison.
Look at Lawson trying to take it away, slides up, and the caution's going to come out once again. Another incident towards the back of the field. Didn't quite catch who it was, though.
So we've got Guptill, Hartley, Alexander, Blomqvist, Clark, Jackson. There's a few guys all a lap down, so we haven't actually seen them. Here we go.
Those motorsport really not having a good day, are they? Because another incident, this is for the 99, down on the bottom, it looks like Driva up on the high side. In fact, this,
there it is.
It was just on the top side there above the most motorsport car. Oh, and that's why he was involved. I am trying to work out the cars that are a lap down at the moment, because those guys have not been in incidents, have they, fellas? Hayden Guptill, Brendon Hartley, Nicholas Cassidy, Tom Alexander.
Well, I don't think we've seen any passes for the passes of lap vehicles. 15 laps, we're at the halfway stage here at Knoxville as we watch the pace vehicle. Which direction is it going to go?
Might win the race at this stage.
Might end up doing more laps than the leaders. So Matthew Payne leads away from Braden Davison, Shane Van Gisbergen, Liam Lawson, Scotty Mack in behind.
Pretty consistent evening from both McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen, and you can add to that Liam Lawson. Nice to see a couple of the guys from the Speedway fraternity kind of coming to the fore, as you would expect at this time. It's been a fully subscribed field for night one, week one of Racing Local, and two very different disciplines. If you've just joined us on Facebook, we're going racing once again. We're about to really get that throttle pedal mashed to the floor here in the 360 sprint cars. We're halfway through the A-main.
Well, it's Payne that leads away from Davison. Davison 0.6 of a second, and here comes Shane Van Gisbergen in the blue car, running in third place at the moment. He's got Lawson in behind him, and here comes Scotty Mack as well. They've just crossed the line, lap 17 of 30.
McLaughlin out of shape, just in the background behind the car we were on board with then, as Payne doing a very good job at the bottom. His caution up's helping to prolong the longevity of that bottom line as we continue to run up the green, though. It's going to fade away from him, and Brayton Davison, see if he can start to close in the way he was before the string of cautions started to puncture the race. Oh, Payne sideways, lost it on the bottom. Here comes Davison to the race lead.
Look at the waiting game from Van Gisbergen. While these two tangle up in front, it's all good for Gizzy. SVG through to second place.
And look where Shane Van Gisbergen is setting his car, right down on that low line. We'll see for the slingshot, and it won't happen as we have another yellow light come through.
Alright, let's queue up this replay and see what's happened. Just bring out this one. This is Tom Alexander, it looks like, on the top side of the racetrack. On the slick, struggling for grip. Down to the back straight away. That may even be the front straight away. Here at Knoxville. It's Cassidy behind him. This is Nicholas Cassidy we're watching. That all black machine. Switches to the top of the racetrack, up in the slick, and oh no, but he had nowhere to go. What a big incident for those two drivers. A wild ride, and I hope that Andrew Jackson was not in a motion rig, because that would make you feel a little bit sick.
You see Andrew Jackson just pushed up in front, contact was made, and that would be all she wrote, getting upside down. Glad to see that big garage door on the roof of that car doing a good job to keep the safety. He'll just unclip the Hans device and he'll be walking back to the trailer.
The safety of sprint cars in real life, obviously, is tremendous, isn't it? I mean, the speeds these cars go on such a tight track, and for drivers to walk away from the incidents they have is truly impeccable.
Yeah, there's certainly tracks in America that are the same size as this, where some of these cars are going under 11 seconds. There's even some tracks that they can go under 10. The bonus of that big wing is it takes a lot of, it works as a shock absorber when the cars get upside down, and it certainly takes away a lot of the impact on those crashes. So the last thing you want to hit is that concrete wall in most cases throughout New Zealand, but in this case here it's the Armco barrier.
Hit the benchmark pretty high for week one, racing at two iconic venues in Daytona and Knoxville. I'm green once again.
We don't quite know yet. We know it's going to be wild, though, as wild as tonight. Who knows? Because tonight it's going to be hard to beat. Van Gisbergen streaks away as McLaughlin loses out to Liam Lawson. Look out for Xavier Simmons working it up top now. Gonna go by Scott McLaughlin. Almost gets into him. There's a wild slide further back in the picture. The number 11 almost hit McLaughlin, almost hit the fence, just kept it out of everything. Someone's really struggling for grip there. That's Waddell.
Trying an inside pass on the person who pit crews for it was Sam Waddell. So those two guys, they work with each other all day long. Waddell, when they're out there on the track, Waddell's normally the team boss. Simmons trying to hand it to him.
And Steve, while that's going on, Van Gisbergen is closing. He opts for a different line, looks down low. He sits in position 3. Davison leads from Payne, but SVG is right there. Lawson and McLaughlin continue that battle for 4th.
So Davison up the front in the CRC entry from Payne, Gisbergen and Lawson. McLaughlin sitting in 5th from Waddell, Simmons, Dunstall in 8th, Hermansen in 9th, and Ransley rounding out the top 10. But here's the battle on track to watch right now. With Davison in the 6th car, still leading. He was one of the pole sitter off the front row, but so was Payne.
Payne is reeling him in. He's working the car as hard as he can to try and close the gap back into the race lead, all over the back of the number 6, the leader of the race, with 5 laps to go as they come across the start and finish stripe. Slides it in, still in and behind him. What can he do to try to get by? Davison running down low at entry. He can't pull that slide job maneuver, and that's one of the best and only ways almost to get by him. He can't get to his outside.
He doesn't mind running it up high on the fence there, boys, does he? It nearly gets that right rear, just grazing, kissing the very edge of it. They are hunting for the grip up in that section.
Davison used to campaigning a midget out of Western Springs in Auckland. Certainly knows the best place to put the car on the track when he's out there.
Brendon Hartley's night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hartley or Nelson. Brendon or Nelson. There's 2 Hartleys out there. It's Brendon. His night's going to come up to a premature end. Riding the high line. I wonder if he's just tagged the fence and gone in a big way. Up on the top, it's the risky run where he dropped that right rear up against the fold. No, again. And just drops
collected on the way through.
It was Jaden Ransley was the car that went around in front. Just over racehead on the top, got in to one of the Muzz Motorsport cars, collected to 29, and then Hartley was that 29 who got collected once again. Big crash for him, and his night is done.
Jaden's paint scheme on that car, tipping its hat to the movie Cars. Bit of rusties on the top of the wing there.
Well, there's certainly some lightning cars out here tonight with 4 to go in the A main feature.
That was good. I'll give you that. That was very smooth there, Steve. That's what professionalism gets you. Smooth
Absolutely.
jokes.
Every time.
All right, we'll come back to the green flag. This could be the final one of the day. It went quite up in this lap. Got another lap to go after this. Coming up is the final lap on our
Look how
screen.
slick
But
this track has gone. This track is so
Yeah.
slick. It's like glass on top, and that's the same thing you see in the normal racing conditions, showing you the just how close iRacing is to the real thing with conditions of track.
they don't do things by half, and they implement something. It's very realistic, which is why the debate about bringing rain into the service has been going on for, well, almost a decade now, probably, ever since it was introduced, because to add that in realistically is, I think, a gigantic effort that no one quite really understands unless they're working on it.
Put a bit more moisture in the track, though, that'd be okay, but of course speedway
Yeah.
cars don't generally run in wet conditions. Every now and then you'll see the end of a race, but we are ready to set the race.
Payne lost it. Try to get back going with Brayton Davison, and that leaves Davison with a very handy margin ahead of Payne. Look at the gap back to third place. Lawson checking up the field as Van Gisbergen and Waddell drive around the outside of him. It's the final lap almost for these drivers. They've got a couple laps to come on our timing screens of iRacing. Going for the finish here then, through 3 and 4, Brayton Davison. Nothing Payne can do, coming to the checkered flag. Should take it away in the A-Main at Knoxville Raceway. Brayton Davison gets the checkered flag, and he will win race 2, or event 2 of the Racing Local series here on iRacing on the Global Sim Racing channel.
What a great job. Mount Everest Kitchens and Auckland's West. Brayden Davison supporting that cause tonight. Midget car racer out of CRC out of Auckland, New Zealand.
We'll go to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll do some post-race interviews with some of the drivers from this evening. We'll go through your results from the A-Main. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel, Racing Local, in support of local businesses. An SOS business distributing funds to all of those businesses in need. Each driver has nominated a small business, and all the proceeds are going towards each of those. We've wrapped up the evening's racing, and this is how they finished in the feature race, the A-Main. It was Brayton Davison that got it done. He got that checkered flag from Matthew Payne. showing himself to be a very talented driver today. Shane Van Gisbergen and Sam Waddell, Xavier Simmons rounding out your top 5. McLaughlin drove up to 6th and 13th on the grid for the feature. Hermansen, Dunstall, Simon Evans, Jed Ransley rounded out your top 10.
Well, 11th place was the 31 of Taylor Cockerton, moving into 12th. Liam Lawson, Hayden Guptill finishing in 13th from Matthew Pluck in 14th. Jonty Austin came home in 15th place from Ben Drever in the 16th position. Tom Alexander in 17th from Tom Blomqvist in 18th. Brendan Partridge in 19th place, and then James Watson in the 20th.
See the rest of the results scrolling through on your screen then. We're going to have another chat here to Brendon Hartley, who, well, race ended prematurely for you. Maybe a few issues with the race itself, but a lot of cautions, but it was a good race overall and a good event.
Yeah, just wanted to say a big thanks to everyone that was involved. We've definitely got a few things to iron out, but you know, the people that put this together, it's just in the course of 4 or 5 days, so I think we can work on it for next week. And yeah, big thanks to the race control, you know, you guys in the comms box and all the competitors. But yeah, unfortunately, that last race, we had an issue, a glitch with iRacing where it was showing half the field 1 lap down, and it made quite a mess of the caution. So they shouldn't have been going on that long. We were trying to sort it out on the chat between us and the race, but that's technology for you. Sometimes it happens, but we'll hopefully improve it next week. I think we're going to try and go rallycross racing and one other discipline next time around. So we're still finalising details and we'll keep evolving it. But yeah, had a lot of fun, and yeah, thanks for everyone tuned in.
Let us know in the comments here if you're still watching at home what you want to see us do next week, and we'll see if Mr. Brendon Hartley might take it into consideration heading into week 2, 3, 4 of this series. Got to be pleased with the racecraft though. Generally, it was a very clean race for everyone involved.
Yeah, it was awesome. Particularly the radicals, you know, the big slip streaming down the straight. I had a bit of a crash. I wasn't in that front mix, but it looked like they had an awesome race. And I love speedway racing. I'd love to give it a go in real life. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed it too.
Well, they certainly did up here in the booth. Steve, you got anything here for Brendon?
Oh, Brendan, all I've got to say is I know you're very good friends with him, but he beat you up there, finishing in 7th place. Christian Hermansen, he's a speedway boy, but
Herminator.
Yeah, the Herminator. He's going to have a few things to say to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, mate, we're going to toast. He's been a big part of the team that put all this together, so we're actually going to have a Zoom call and a bit of a toast to getting that over the line, and then probably tomorrow we'll have a bit of a think on how we can improve it. But no, you know what was awesome then, mate, was seeing a whole lot of the speedway boys. You know, Brayton, who I think Brayton won the race today.
Absolutely.
He's a boy from he's from the Springs, and you know I was having a battle with Hayden Guptill from the Western Springs as well, and just that mix. You know, Christian coming from Speedway, that putting that mix of drivers in one race is just awesome.
Well, Sam Waddell finished in 4th place for Speedway. Xavier Simmons, who's been pit crewing for Sam and Sam's father all his life, finished for the Sim guys in 5th place. Matthew Payne, I think. Now, Matthew Payne, is he with the Sim team or was he actually a racer? I didn't actually take down a note of him.
I believe he's a top go-karter. I got a quote from my brother who's been doing a little bit of go-karting saying he was annoyingly quick in a go-kart.
So I guess Xavier Simmons in the second race, the highest ranked Sim racer. So congratulations to him. Fantastic drive. Certainly some big names up there, and that's great to see.
Well, thank you for joining us here, Brendon. Thank you for putting us all on. We look forward to what's to come in the weeks to come forth, and good luck with everything.
Cheers, mate. See you guys next week.
Well done, Brendon.
Before you go, Brendan, why don't we do something for the fans and the people that are out there on social media, and let them tell us what they would like to see in weeks coming up. You happy with that?
Great idea.
Right.
So there's a few different disciplines, lots of different cars. Give us the ideas. That's yep. We're open to suggestions.
You've had a lot of late nights, you and Sarah and Chris and Billy and Barry, Louise and Christian. So well done, mate. It's been a great first night. I know there's lots of good things to come. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Well, I think we'll start to wrap this up then, Rusty and Steve. It's been a fantastic evening calling not just the road racing at Daytona, the sprint car action at Knoxville, 2 wildly different races, one of the closest finishes we'll ever see when you go racing, both real or virtual. Overall, what a fantastic start of the series, what a great cause we're racing for.
And I think there was so many different stories to come out of this tonight, Steve and Ryan. I mean, we didn't see Greg Murphy feature as much as we thought we might. So what has happened there? Hopefully he'll be back involved in the thick of the action in week 2. We saw young stars, Liam Lawson, Matt Payne, weren't they doing, tremendous? And they're guys that are competing either in karting or on the international stage in junior formula, and up against stars like Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin, who were consistent no matter what kind of car they were in tonight. I thought that was another great story too.
The other thing I enjoyed was in the second half of the night when we went to Speedway. I know a lot of the Speedway guys didn't get up as high as they may have liked to in the first race, but they actually showed to be part of the cream of the crop, with Davison coming through with the win. Van Gisbergen, he spent many a day on the dirt. Sam Waddell, those guys there as well, Christian Hermansen. So it was good to see that if you go and race on the discipline that you're used to doing, you might see a great result. But when you mention the likes of Van Gisbergen, Scotty Mack, the cream certainly does rise to the top.
And we will see it again next week at the same time on Friday night at 7 p.m. New Zealand time, 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Tune in on the Racing Local Facebook page, on the Global Sim Racing channel on YouTube, and we'll do it all again in some different cars and some different tracks with an all-star field. And we'll return up here in the comms box. Thank you to Racing Local for bringing you this event. To Brendon Hartley, Chris Vandergrift, and everyone involved behind the scenes for making it all possible. And thank you to every single one of the sponsors who've jumped on board for this series. And of course, SOS Business for helping to facilitate the entire thing. And of course, this broadcast wouldn't be possible either without any of the companies that provide all the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed there on your screen. And June Alonso, who provides all of our wonderful music. You can see how you can get a hold of her. Thanks to the team with me today, most importantly, Greg Rust and Steve Daniels, Sean Ambrose behind the scenes, making everything come through visually. My name was Ryan Jones. If you want to find out more about the GSRC, you can see the screen for what's coming up across various disciplines and series over the next few days. You can find us on social media at Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and on Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Make sure you head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button, and you won't miss a moment of any of our series here on GSRC. From all of us here in the booth, thank you for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.